जब मैं देख गया तो आप यही काम करके देख गया ना 15 मिनट हो गए वो बैठा हो तुझे कम लगा
वो मैं टाइम देखा था तो टाइम में भी पढ़ा था क्योंकि ना जब मैच स्टार्ट होता है ना तब इसके स्कोरबोर्ड हो गया कि शायद वो उसको एडिट करना होता था
पहले तो कर लेते होते वो कैसे करते होते थे 2-2 घंटे पहले तक बैठ लेते होते हो
वो पापा गूगल से लेते थे इधर वो बाद में स्कोर हो गया बाद में आता है इधर पहले खाली थे
माइक लेके आओ जल्दी करो चलता है ना माइक
वैसे भी आवाज आ
माइक बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम वेलकम यू ऑल ऑस्ट्रेलिया और न्यूजीलैंड के दरमियान T20 वर्ल्ड कप का ये मैच होने जा रहा है पूल मैच के पास ये पहला मैच है जो कि खेला जा रहा है ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने आज का टॉस जीता है और पहले न्यूजीलैंड को दावत दी है बैटिंग करने के लिए बहुत अहम मैच है आज का तमाम खिलाड़ी ग्राउंड में आ रहे हैं चेक करो अगर आ रही है सही प्रोग्राम चाहिए कि परसों सेलिब्रेट करा दे होली वो ना
हेलो हेलो।
ਇੱਕ ਮਸਲਾ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਨਾ 153 ਬੱਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ 40 ਸੀਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਈਡੀ ਵਿੱਚ 80 ਬੱਚੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦਾ ਮਸਲਾ ਹੈ।
ये बढ़ रहा है कि नहीं?
आईडी में 153 ही ने ऐप ਤੇ 80 ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਇਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਆਸਫ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ। आसम क्या जी होते बच्चे थे ऐप के बच्चे पूरे नहीं हुए इन करके ना
बस वो ग्रीन सा ही थोड़ा सा आगे होता है।
ये बड़ा है। अब
ही टारगेट आ रहा है।
हेलो
हाँ जो सारे टारगेट ही 80 आ रहा है।
हेलो
सुनना इस पे ना सही बात आ रही उधर चले जाओ फिर मुझे दे जाना वापस लॉग आउट करके। जी बहुत शुक्रिया आपका। ये ऑस्ट्रेलिया और न्यूजीलैंड के दरमियान ये जो मैच खेला जा रहा है 20 स्कोर हो चुका है न्यूजीलैंड का। बहुत फ्लाइंग स्टार्ट है न्यूजीलैंड का। फिन एलन 15 स्कोर पे खेल रहे हैं, 7 गेंदों का सामना किया है। और डेवन कॉनवे 2 गेंदों पे 5 स्कोर किए हैं। बॉलिंग कर रहे हैं जोश हैजलवुड। जोश हैजलवुड आए बॉल करने के लिए। बंद कर दो, इसे बंद कर दो। ये बंद कर दो, मुझे दे दो। आए गेंद की 4 रन के लिए, बहुत शानदार शॉट। डेवन कॉनवे ने शानदार शॉट खेली 4 रन के लिए। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर इस 4 रन के साथ 24 और 1.4 गेंदों का खेल हो चुका है। 24 स्कोर है। इस वक्त जो करंट रन रेट है वो 14.40 का है। बहुत फ्लाइंग स्टार्ट, बहुत अच्छा स्टार्ट ये न्यूजीलैंड की तरफ से। जोश हैजलवुड जो कि रैंकिंग में नंबर 1 बाउलर हैं दुनिया में, गेंद करने के लिए आए। गेंद की और डॉट बॉल। इस गेंद पे किसी स्कोर का इजाफा नहीं हुआ। नहीं, एक स्कोर इस बॉल पे हुआ है। और अब इस एक स्कोर के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का जो स्कोर है वो 25 रन हो चुका है। न्यूजीलैंड 25 स्कोर और उसका एक खिलाड़ी, कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं हुआ। 1.5 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। अब दूसरे ओवर की आखिरी गेंद करने के लिए जो हैजलवुड आएंगे। सामना कर रहे हैं फिन एलन का। आए गेंद की और शॉट 4 रन के लिए। फिन एलन ने इस गेंद पे एक और बाउंड्री हासिल की है न्यूजीलैंड के लिए। 2 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 2 ओवर्स में 29 रन स्कोर कर लिए हैं न्यूजीलैंड ने और उसका कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं हुआ। बहुत शानदार स्टार्ट किया है न्यूजीलैंड ने अपने इस पहले मैच में। बहुत अहम मैच है न्यूजीलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया का। 2 ओवर्स का खेल हो चुका है। 29 रन्स हैं न्यूजीलैंड के और इस वक्त जो करंट रन रेट है वो 14.14 का करंट रन रेट है। बहुत ही अच्छी बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की तरफ से। दो ओवर्स के इख्तिताम पे 29 रन हो चुके हैं न्यूजीलैंड के और कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं हुआ। फिन एलन 8 गेंदें खेली हैं और 19 रन्स उन्होंने 8 गेंदों पे किए हैं। डेवन कॉनवे 5 गेंदों पे 11 रन्स। पैट कमिंस आए हैं पहली गेंद की और एक स्कोर बना इस गेंद पे। पैट कमिंस का ये पहला ओवर है, एक गेंद की है अभी तक। डेवन कॉनवे ने पहली गेंद पे वो सिंगल ली और स्कोर बढ़ता हुआ 30। 2.1 ओवर का खेल हो चुका है। फिन एलन अब सामना करेंगे पैट कमिंस का। कमिंस जो कि एक अच्छे बाउलर हैं, गेंद करेंगे फिन एलन को। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 30। 2.1 ओवर के इख्तिताम पे पैट कमिंस आए, गेंद करेंगे फिन एलन को। फिन एलन की शानदार शॉट 4 रन के लिए। एक और बाउंड्री हासिल की न्यूजीलैंड के बैट्समैन फिन एलन ने। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर बढ़ता हुआ 34 रन और उसका कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं हुआ। ये कैच था जो कि न्यूजीलैंड ड्रॉप हुआ और 4 रन भी मिले हैं न्यूजीलैंड की साइड को। 34 रन हैं। 2.2 ओवर का खेल हो चुका है किसी खिलाड़ी के नुकसान पे। आए गेंद की पैट कमिंस ने एक और चौका, एक और शानदार शॉट न्यूजीलैंड की तरफ से। 38 फॉर 0, 38 स्कोर हो चुका है न्यूजीलैंड का। 2.3 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 38 रन कर चुका है न्यूजीलैंड और फिन एलन की बहुत ही जारहाना बैटिंग, बड़ी शानदार बैटिंग कर रहे हैं। 10 गेंदों पे 27 रन स्कोर कर चुके हैं। न्यूजीलैंड का बहुत ही फ्लाइंग स्टार्ट है ये, बहुत ही अच्छी बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की जानब से। पैट कमिंस अब अपने पहले ओवर की चौथी गेंद करने के लिए आएंगे। 3 गेंदों पे 9 रन दे चुके हैं और बड़ी ही अच्छी आए गेंद की और डॉट बॉल, अच्छी बॉल थी। इस गेंद पे किसी स्कोर का इजाफा नहीं हुआ। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर इस वक्त 38 है। 2.4 ओवर का खेल हो चुका है और कोई खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड का आउट नहीं हुआ। एक अच्छा आगाज है न्यूजीलैंड की जानब से, बहुत अच्छी बैटिंग उनके ओपनर की तरफ से। पैट कमिंस अब अपने ओवर की 5वीं गेंद करने के लिए आ रहे हैं। गेंद हवा के अंदर और 6 रन के लिए खेल दिया है। फिन एलन का शानदार 6। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर इस 6 रन के साथ बढ़ता हुआ 44 हो चुका है। 44 फॉर 0, 44 फॉर नन। What a batting by New Zealand, what a batting। 44 रन हो चुके हैं किसी खिलाड़ी के नुकसान के बगैर। ये दूसरा छक्का है इस मैच का और पैट कमिंस अपने ओवर की आखिरी गेंद करने के लिए आएंगे, सामना करेंगे फिन एलन। इस ओवर में ऑलरेडी 15 रन बन चुके हैं आई गेंद की और 2 रन के लिए खेला है। फिन एलन ने इस 2 रन के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 46, 3 ओवर के इख्तिताम पे 3 ओवर का खेल हो चुका है। 46 रन हैं। बड़ी ही शानदार, बड़ी ही अच्छी बैटिंग कर रही है न्यूजीलैंड के ओपनर्स। फिन एलन ने 13 गेंदों का सामना किया है और 13 गेंदों पे 35 रन किए हैं और वो 270 के स्ट्राइक रेट से खेल रहे हैं, जबकि डेवन कॉनवे ने 5 गेंदों का सामना किया है और 11 रन स्कोर कर चुके हैं 220 की स्ट्राइक रेट के साथ। इस मैच में अब तक 2 छक्के लग चुके हैं और दोनों ही फिन एलन ने ये 6 लगाए हैं। फिन एलन अब तक 5 दफ़ा गेंद को बाउंड्री के बाहर फेंकने में यानी 4 रन लेने में कामयाब हुए और दो उन्होंने 6 लगाए हैं, जबकि डेवन कॉनवे ने 2 चौके अभी तक लगा चुके हैं अपनी इनिंग्स में। बहुत अच्छे स्ट्राइक के साथ इस वक्त न्यूजीलैंड ये मैच खेल रही है। अब बॉलिंग करने के लिए आएंगे स्टॉइनिस, जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया के ऑलराउंडर हैं, वो आएंगे गेंद करने के लिए और सामना करेंगे डेवन कॉनवे। बहुत ही अच्छी बैटिंग, शानदार बैटिंग कर रहे हैं न्यूजीलैंड के बैट्समैन, ओपनिंग बैट्समैन। स्टॉइनिस आए गेंद की, पहली गेंद पे 2 रन का इजाफा हुआ। इस 2 रन के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 48 और किसी खिलाड़ी के नुकसान के बगैर कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं हुआ। न्यूजीलैंड के ओपनर्स बहुत अच्छी जारहाना बैटिंग कर रहे हैं, बड़ी ही शानदार बैटिंग। 3.1 ओवर के इख्तिताम पे न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 48 हो चुका है और कोई खिलाड़ी उनका आउट नहीं हुआ। अब आएंगे स्टॉइनिस गेंद करने के लिए, सामना करेंगे कॉनवे। आए एक अपील की है, लेकिन इस पे खिलाड़ी एम्पायर ने आउट नहीं दिया। देखते हैं क्या ये थर्ड एम्पायर के लिए जाती है टीम। नहीं, अगली गेंद के लिए स्टॉइनिस अब गेंद करेंगे, सामना करेंगे कैनवे। डेवन कॉनवे सामना करेंगे स्टॉइनिस का। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 48 रन हो चुका है 3.2 ओवर के इख्तिताम पे। तकरीबन 14.5 का करंट रन रेट है जो न्यूजीलैंड की साइड का। अच्छी बैटिंग कर रही है न्यूजीलैंड की साइड। न्यूजीलैंड 48 for none। Very good batting by both the openers। 48 रन हो चुके हैं, गेम थोड़ी देर के लिए रुका है। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर हो चुका है 48, किसी खिलाड़ी के नुकसान के बगैर। 3.2 ओवर का खेल हो चुका है। स्टॉइनिस आएंगे, गेंद करेंगे, सामना करेंगे डेवन कॉनवे। एक और डॉट बॉल, अच्छी गेंद की। इस गेंद पे किसी स्कोर का इजाफा नहीं हुआ। स्टॉइनिस ने इस ओवर में 3 गेंदें कर चुके हैं और 3 गेंदों पे सिर्फ 2 रन ही न्यूजीलैंड के बैट्समैन स्कोर कर सके। स्टॉइनिस अब अपने ओवर की चौथी गेंद के लिए आएंगे और गेंद करेंगे डेवन कॉनवे को। आई गेंद की और इस गेंद पे एक स्कोर हासिल किया है न्यूजीलैंड ने। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफा के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर हो गया है 49। 49 रन हो चुके हैं किसी खिलाड़ी के नुकसान के बगैर। 49 रन से न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर हो चुका है, कोई खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड का आउट नहीं हुआ। 3.4 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। बहुत अच्छी बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की जानब से। इतना ही अच्छा ओवर ये मार्क स्टॉइनिस कर रहे हैं। इससे पहले 3 ओवर्स में 46 रन्स 47 रन किए थे बैट्समैन ने, न्यूजीलैंड के बैट्समैन ने। अब आए स्टॉइनिस, आए, गेंद करेंगे, सामना करेंगे फिन एलन जो कि बहुत जहराना मूड में है। आए, गेंद की, गेंद शानदार शॉट खेली है फिन एलन ने 6 रन के लिए। इस गेंद पे 6 रन फिन एलन ने हासिल कर लिए हैं। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर बढ़ता हुआ 55 रन हो चुका है। 55 रन पे न्यूजीलैंड का कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं है। 3.5 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। बहुत अच्छी बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की जानब से, बहुत शानदार जारहाना बैटिंग फिन एलन की तरफ से। आखिरी गेंद करने के लिए मार्क स्टॉइनिस आएंगे, गेंद की डॉट बॉल। इस गेंद पे किसी मिसफील्ड हुई है, एक स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ और इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 56 रन हो चुका है और उसका कोई खिलाड़ी आउट नहीं हुआ। 4 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। इस ओवर में मार्क स्टॉइनिस ने 10 रन दिए हैं। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 4 ओवर्स के इख्तिताम पे 56 रन हो चुका है। अब सामना करेंगे फिन एलन। 5वें ओवर का खेल स्टार्ट होने वाला है। फिन एलन इस वक्त 15 गेंदों पे 42 रन स्कोर कर चुके हैं। 42 रन सिर्फ 15 गेंदों पे स्कोर किया है फिन एलन ने। उसका इनको स्ट्राइक रेट है वो 280 का है। 280 की स्ट्राइक रेट के साथ 42 रन स्कोर किए हैं सिर्फ 15 गेंदे खेल के फिन एलन ने। दूसरी जानब जो डेवन कॉनवे हैं, आए, गेंद की, आउट हो गए हैं। जोश हेजलवुड ने फिन एलन को बोल्ड कर दिया है और न्यूजीलैंड की पहली विकेट 56 के स्कोर पे गिर चुकी है। एक बहुत क्रिशियल विकेट हासिल की ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बाउलर जोश हेजलवुड जो इस वक्त T20 रैंकिंग में नंबर 1 पोजीशन पे है। उन्होंने अपनी इस नंबर 1 पोजीशन को साबित किया और फिन एलन जो कि बहुत ख़तरनाक लग रहे थे उनको बोल्ड कर दिया है। न्यूजीलैंड की पहली विकेट। यहाँ पे उसका नुकसान हुआ न्यूजीलैंड को और 56 के रन में पहली विकेट न्यूजीलैंड की आउट। 4.1 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। न्यूजीलैंड 56 रन।
Kane Williamson to come in, not much pressure on him scoreboard wise and can just settle in and knock it around.
42 from 16 deliveries, including 5 fours and 3 sixes. It's one hell of a way to get your World Cup debut off to a flying start, and it builds the platform for New Zealand. 1 for 56 in the 5th over, and it brings out Kane Williamson, the 32-year-old New Zealand captain. Hasn't been amongst the runs as often for New Zealand in their most recent series, their tri-series back in New Zealand, but did have some injury concerns. So back in New Zealand's best side, 2,225 runs in his 29th T20 International, a high score of 95 and an average of 32. 15 times past 100, hasn't scored. 15 times past 50, hasn't scored 100 in T20 cricket so far, but a strike rate of 123. Kane Williamson's intent will be here. Can he continue on in the way Finn Allen has started?
Well, I think his natural game is to give himself a chance, and the team knows that he's there to sort of hold them together, bat around him, and to start that he's been given. There's not much pressure. As I said, there's no scoreboard pressure on him. The Aussies will look to try and build some pressure on him and try and get his strike rate down to force a loose shot. But he's been Mr. Reliable. He can take some time out of the game here. He can just settle things down. He won't want to take too much time out, but I think he's got the opportunity to get himself set and try and push on through this middle period and try and set up the next partnership.
Hazlewood having got the breakthrough for the Australians. Good captaincy from Aaron Finch to bring him back on from the Randwick end here at the SCG, and it brought dividends for Australia as New Zealand was off to a flying start. A run rate of over 14. And now the wicket trying to wrestle a bit of momentum back Australia's way. So Kane Williamson just getting himself set at the striker's end. Devon Conway at the other end on 14 from 9 deliveries. Of course, we've got the big one tomorrow night, India and Pakistan, MCG.
I grimace it a little bit because I spoke about our bad weather. I really
Melbourne hasn't been much better.
there's going to be, if it rains, it could be about over 1 billion hearts broken all around the world, and including mine. It's going to be another entertaining fixture. It's hard to pick which one I'm looking forward to in this Super 12 stage. I certainly myself think the qualifiers have showed that anyone can beat anyone in this format. Any individual player can have a field day. Finn Allen showed it tonight and coming out with the fireworks that he's displayed. So it certainly is going to be very, very interesting, and there's going to be a packed out at the MCG tomorrow. I just hope they get to see 20 overs of cricket beside.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I don't want to do the commentator's curse. Can you do it with rain?
Yeah, you can do it with everything, really. If we're being honest, Chris, commentator's curse stretches to just about everything. I was in Adelaide for the 50 over World Cup and got to see Pakistan, India there. Goodness me, the atmosphere. There's no silence, like the noise that goes for the whole game. That was the thing that struck me the most, is that there's never a moment where there's any lull in the atmosphere. It just continues on for...
So much passion between the two nations. They absolutely love their cricket, and it's great to see the mateship between the two teams as well. A lot of the guys get on well. They share a lot of stories about their families. So I think
Kane Williamson, the new batter for New Zealand, awaiting Josh Hazlewood. He leans forward and defends as Glenn Maxwell does the fielding at backward point. New Zealand 1 for 56 in the 5th over. Kane Williamson, the new batter, and Devon Conway on 14. Of course, we've still got a match to come tonight.
तो फ्रेंड यहाँ पे 4.4 ओवर्स में 56 स्कोर, 1 विकेट के नुकसान पे जबरदस्त बैटिंग कर रहे हैं न्यूजीलैंड। और यहाँ पे जोश बॉल कराने जा रहे हैं, चौका, जबरदस्त चौका लेग स्टंप पे विलियमसन की जानिब से, जबरदस्त चौका लेग स्टंप की जानिब। और यहाँ पे इसी के साथ 60 स्कोर मुकम्मल हो चुके हैं 4.5 ओवर में। शुरू में न्यूजीलैंड बहुत अच्छा चली, देख के लग रहा था कि न्यूजीलैंड 120 अप कर लेगी पावर प्ले के अंदर, मगर एक विकेट गिरने की वजह से जरा स्कोर नीचे आया और उसका थोड़ा सा न्यूजीलैंड को नुकसान उठाना पड़ा। न्यूजीलैंड का रन रेट एवरेज थोड़ी नीचे आई और अगली बॉल फिर बीट। इसी ओवर में एक विकेट गिरी थी जोश हेजलवुड की जानिब से, बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त विकेट थी और ओवर कंप्लीट हो चुका है। अब अगले बॉलर देखते हैं कौन आएंगे। ऑस्ट्रेलिया जो कि दिफाई चैंपियन है वर्ल्ड कप का, तो देखते हैं क्या इस बार कौन लेके जाएगा वर्ल्ड कप। आपने बस एक काम करना, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना, वीडियो को लाइक करना है और कमेंट में बताने कि कौन सा मुल्क लेके जाएगा। आपका पैगाम हम ICC तक पहुंचाएंगे कि भाई मैच फिक्सिंग कर लो मगर इस मुल्क को जितवा दो। फ्रेंड्स आप बस जल्दी से चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें, वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें। तो यहाँ पे ओवर कंप्लीट हो चुका है। आपने अभी तक चैनल को नहीं सब्सक्राइब किया तो जल्दी से आप कर दें चैनल को सब्सक्राइब और वीडियो को भी लाइक। तो फ्रेंड जल्दी से चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें। अगला ओवर यहाँ पे करवाने आए हैं, अगला ओवर यहाँ पे पैट कमिंस करवाने आए हैं जो अपनी पहली बॉल बीट करवा चुके हैं। अगली बॉल सेकंड बॉल पैट कमिंस डालने जा रहे हैं और यहाँ पे चौका, जबरदस्त चौका, कवर ड्राइव की जान न्यूजीलैंड ने बॉल को खेला और जबरदस्त चौका। कॉनवे ने कवर ड्राइव पे खेला और चौका। जो पहले एलन जो 50 थी वो करने जा ही रहे थे कि उधर मैदान में उतरे जोश हेजलवुड और उन्होंने उन्हें आउट कर दिया। जब बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त बैटिंग कर रहे थे फिन एलन, जबकि जोश हेजलवुड ने कहा नहीं हम नहीं तुम्हें बैटिंग करने देंगे, तो आउट कर दिया। अब अगली बॉल पैट कमिंस की जानिब से, अगली बॉल फिर बीट और 5.3 ओवर कंप्लीट होते और 64 स्कोर और एक आउट हो चुका है। तो चौथी बॉल करवाने के लिए तैयार हैं पैट कमिंस। तो फ्रेंड जल्दी से आप चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दो, वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दो। चौथी बॉल करवाने के लिए तैयार हैं पैट कमिंस और करवाने जा ही रहे थे कि चले अब दोबारा से तैयार हैं पैट कमिंस चौथी बॉल करवाने के लिए। और यहाँ पे सिंगल, बहुत ही मुश्किल सिंगल निकली, अभी रन आउट होने लगा था बट बच गया। अगर यहाँ पे ओवर थ्रो ना होती तो ये सीधा विकेटों पे जाकर लगनी थी, कीपर के हाथ से बॉल फिसल गई, नहीं तो भी बैट्समैन बहुत पीछे थे और ये रन आउट हो जाना था। तो अब देखते हैं अगली बॉल पे क्या होगा। आप जल्दी से बस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें और कमेंट में बताएं कि पिन में मैंने वो पोल लगाई उसमें बताएं कि कौन जीतेगा और कमेंट में बताएं कि आप किस टीम की जानिब हैं। तो यहाँ पे पांचवी बॉल पैट कमिंस करवाने जा रहे हैं और यहाँ पे क्या होने जा रहा है, पांचवी बॉल पे क्या होने जा रहा है कमेंट में बताएं। और इसी के साथ पांचवी बॉल पे फिर एक और ज़बरदस्त स्टॉप किया बॉल को विलियमसन ने। और अगली बॉल पे क्या होने जा रहा है जल्दी से कमेंट में बताएं, अगली बॉल पे क्या होगा। यहाँ पे 5.5 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है और 65 स्कोर है। पावर प्ले की आखिरी बॉल जो कि पैट कमिंस करवाने जा रहे हैं और देखते हैं क्या होगा इस बॉल पे। पैट कमिंस पावर प्ले की आखिरी बॉल करवाने जा रहे हैं और एक और ज़बरदस्त बॉल पैट कमिंस की जानिब से, एक आउट कर चुके हैं हेजलवुड। तो अब देखते हैं अगला ओवर किसका आएगा। ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने टॉस जीत के बॉलिंग का फैसला किया और शुरू में ही उनको बहुत स्कोर पड़ा, 2 ओवरों में 40 स्कोर था, जिसे देख के लगता था कि जो न्यूजीलैंड है 120 से ऊपर चली जाएगी पावर प्ले के अंदर ही, मगर बॉलर्स ने हिम्मत दिखाई और न्यूजीलैंड को 65 पे रोक लिया। यहाँ पे 6 ओवरों का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है और 65 पे 1 है। तो जल्दी से आप बस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें, वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें और पोल में बताएं कि कौन सी टीम जीतेगी आज का मैच और कौन सी टीम जीतेगी इस बार का वर्ल्ड कप। 10.83 की रन रेट एवरेज है। स्पिन बॉलर आए हैं एडम जंपा, जो कि एक ट्रम्प कार्ड भी साबित हो सकते हैं न्यूजीलैंड के लिए। तो देखते हैं क्या करेंगे एडम जंपा आज के मैच में, क्या कोई विकेट ले पाएंगे या नहीं। बड़े ही ज़बरदस्त बॉलर हैं, शीनवान की तरह बॉल करवाते हैं एडम जंपा। तो पहला आउट करवा रहे हैं एडम जंपा अपना, और पहली बॉल पे चौका। एडम जंपा ने पहली बॉल पे चौका खा लिया है। इसी के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 69 हो चुका है और 1 विकेट के नुकसान पे। जल्दी से आप चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें और वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें। यहाँ पे अगली बॉल पे जबरदस्त सिंगल, एडम जंपा की जानिब से जबरदस्त बॉल और एक सिंगल। इसी के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 76.2 ओवर्स में। पावर प्ले का इख्तिताम हो चुका है यहाँ पे, और अगली बॉल एडम जंपा करवाने जा रहे हैं, और यहाँ पे अगली बॉल पे क्या होगा। यहाँ पे एक और सिंगल, जबरदस्त सिंगल। तो फ्रेंड्स आप जल्दी से चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें, वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें। यहाँ पे एक और सिंगल। तो फ्रेंड प्लीज जल्दी से चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, वीडियो को भी लाइक करें। जबरदस्त सिंगल। यहाँ पे पांचवी बॉल अपनी करवाने जा रहे हैं एडम जंपा, और पांचवी बॉल पे क्या होगा कमेंट में बताएं, और पोल में बताएं कि आप किस टीम की तरफ हैं। यहाँ पे पांचवी बॉल भी जबरदस्त सिंगल न्यूजीलैंड की जानिब से। इसी के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर होते हैं 73, 6.5 ओवर में 1 विकेट के नुकसान पे। तो जल्दी से फ्रेंड्स पोल में बताएं कि कौन सी टीम जीतेगी। यहाँ पे 2 वोट आए हैं और दोनों ही वोट न्यूजीलैंड की जानिब इशारा करते हैं। चलें देख लेते हैं कि कौन सी टीम जीतेगी। आपने बस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना है और वीडियो को लाइक करना है। 16। तो यहाँ पे ओवर की आखिरी बॉल पे भी जबरदस्त सिंगल। ओवर पूरा हो चुका है। इस ओवर में 10 स्कोर पड़े हैं। इस ओवर में 9 स्कोर पड़े हैं एडम जंपा को, और इसी के साथ 7 ओवर कंप्लीट। 74 स्कोर पे 1 विकेट गिर चुकी है, जो कि जोश हेजलवुड की जानिब से ली गई थी फिन एलन की। तो देखते हैं अब अगला ओवर कौन कौन आएंगे।
So one more run. Williamson is 6, Conway is 26, and that's the end of 7 overs. 1 for 74 New Zealand. So it's a heck of a start by the New Zealanders after they were sent into bat by Aaron Finch. Finn Allen bowled by a Hazlewood Yorker for 42. Conway 26 off 17. He's been there from the start, but he's been the inverted commas silent partner thus far. Kane Williamson on 6, and Chris Green makes way to another tall chap, but a fast bowler who was also running away off his 6 or 7 metre run in great cricket today. Stewie Clark.
G'day Andy, g'day everybody. Finn Allen, my new favourite T20 player.
Oh.
What about that?
What about after every boundary hit, we're going 2 more million in the IPL auction?
Hey,
Another million.
all I could see is IPL teams putting up that paddle with just going like that. Another one. Yep, I'm going. He good on him. It was good watching, and he took it to the Australians and hit the ball to all parts. Yeah, they're sort of steadied, haven't they? They're more traditional, these two. They play some more traditional type shots.
So Conway awaits for Marcus Stoinis. His first over earlier cost 10 runs, and the umpire, Madame Asana, just says, go back.
I think there's people walking behind the side screen again. It's an old chestnut, isn't it?
It's a lot of preciousness going on in cricket. We've had 40 minutes and only 7 overs thus far. Australia's officially 1 over behind. Ish, I've told you before, stay out of our broadcast. You're on the telly these days. Here comes Stoinis with a short fine leg in place and a short third man, and Conway will look for 2 here. Plays it very gently through mid-wicket, and they will come back for a second, as Tim David must have had 30 metres to travel the field. So a couple to Conway. He's 28. New Zealand, 1 for 76 in the 8th over.
What I'm looking at with the ground is SCG's a big ground, but they've got like a synthetic track around the outside now, which is cool, no drama. But then they've put the LED signage on the edge of that, and then they've moved the boundary, so they've actually made a big ground small.
It's probably 10 metres.
10 metres.
Right around the ground, in from the fence. It's Stoinis to Conway, short on leg stump, and he tickles this forward of square, but a little more firmly this time, and will only get a single as Cummins gets the return in. So 1 more to New Zealand, and they move along to be 1 for 77. Conway 29 off 19.
Now, at the start of the game, I said about 170. Can I reassess? Am I allowed to at this stage?
You can reassess as often as you like, Stewie.
It is T20. It's
correct.
A fluid sort of game.
Constant reassessment.
It's a lot of changing variables in this game. The wicket does look like it's coming onto the bat very nicely. So
it was leaving the bat very nicely too, and Finn Allen was in.
So I'm thinking if the 180, 190 might be the go now.
Are you becoming our predictor?
Yeah, well, there's no one else here to do it. Yeah, Greeny hasn't been with us very much, so I've got to let him find his feet.
Leadership role from you. Here's Stoinis bowling to Williamson off the back foot. He clubs it away towards deep point, but there's only a run to be had there because Cummins is patrolling the boundary. So Kane Williamson 7 off 10, and New Zealand now 1 for 78 in the 8th over.
Are you a leadership group guy, or are you a leader guy?
Leader.
I think there's one man in charge.
Yep.
The leadership group always just felt like giving people a job.
I get it away from the game itself, around training, all that sort of thing. I get that, but on the field there should be one voice.
Oh, yeah. There's only one voice on the field today, Andy.
Stoinis it is, bowling to Conway, and he is whipping a straightish delivery, again gently towards Cummins at deep mid-wicket, but Cummins came in quickly to pick up, so just another single. Conway 30, and 4 balls into the 8th over. New Zealand 1 for 79. They scored 65 in the power play, losing just the 1 wicket. That might be hard to beat for the entire rest of the tournament.
Yeah, it was very, very dynamic. Hit the ball to all parts, and didn't know where to look. I was tucking into a feed out the back there, and I nearly choked on my bread roll.
Which one?
That hard.
They're still talking about your eating feeds in there. Here comes Stoinis bowling now to Kane Williamson, and the Black Caps captain doesn't look anywhere near getting close to that ball with a bat. It came off his body, trickled down to the keeper, Matt Wade, and it's another dot ball for Williamson, who's only 7 from 11. He just seems to be struggling for any sort of timing at the moment, but we know how good he can be, Kane Williamson, as he showed in the World Cup final last year. It's his 5th T20 World Cup. Made his debut in this form of the game for New Zealand 11 years ago against Zimbabwe. 82nd game, average of almost 33 and a strike rate almost 124, 15 50s. 11th game against Australia is only averaging 21 against the Aussies. Raises the bat, bouncer from Stoinis, very short, that should be a wide, and it is. The initial signal came from the square leg umpire Adrian Holdstock back to Kumar Dharmasena. And I don't have a gripe with that on first viewing, Stewie. Marcus Stoinis certainly does. Australia has New Zealand 1 for 80.
I don't know about that one. It was it was borderline.
It was almost tennis ball bounce, wasn't it, in the end?
I think it was almost like, because Stoinis is bowling so many off-speed balls at the moment.
That's well average.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. That all of a sudden the change-up's actually the ball that's the quicker ball. Yeah. Whereas back in the glory days, it was quicker ball, then slow ball. Now it's slow ball, quicker ball. Yeah.
Is that what you're doing today for Sutherland 4th grade?
It was just slow balls today. There's not much else off.
Fine leg moves inside the rope. Stoinis bowls to Williamson, short of a length, pulled away, but he picked out the man at deep backward square along the ground. And Glenn Maxwell goes down to one knee to pick it up. And they get a run. So that ends the over. 8 overs done. 7 off that one. 1 for 81 New Zealand. But Devon Conway 30. Kane Williamson 8 off 12 will keep the striker now at the 10. It's only the 8 over mark. People coming from everywhere. There's new gloves. There's Australian assistants out there talking to Matty Wade. It was like the charge of the Light Brigade there for a moment.
And you got umpire Damascena standing there saying, get on with it. And this is when T20 cricket came about, we weren't allowed to do any of this stuff.
No, get on with it.
The game's supposed to be fast. Now, Australia shouldn't get docked for this with their, the little timer clock thing. Surely not.
The old little timer clock thing. Well, apparently they're on target as we speak.
Well,
with 48 minutes left in the inning, 12 overs to be bowled. And Zampa will bowl the next one.
I'm going to feel this game will be decided, I think, on Adam Zampa. He's been their best, most economical bowler, I think, for the Australians for a period of time. Doesn't put a lot of turn on the ball, but it's very hard to get away. If the New Zealanders can get a hold of him, it forces Aaron Finch to go back to some of his quicker bowlers, which I think they'll be able to take on a lot easier. Adam Zampa is key to this, the outcome of this game, I think. 9th game against New Zealand, an economy rate of almost 8.5, which would be among his worst, as Williamson plays the first ball down to mid-on, and Stoinis coming in off the boundary to field just another single, and that's all Williamson's got at the moment. He's 9 off 13, 1 for 82 as we start the 9th over. Zampa bowling from the Randwick end in front of the Trumper and Churchill stands, which is filled nicely, and as you said in our pre-game show down on the boundary, Stewie, there's been a really nice buzz and vibe here at the SCG since we got inside the ground. And they were shut up for a moment, though, with Finn Allen's stunning knock. Zampa well flighted, and Conway drives between square leg and long on, but only a single because the threat of Glenn Maxwell's arm. So Conway 31 off 21, 1 for 83 in the 9th. And there's a good buzz, you're right. There's a lot of families down there. We were down on, as you said, Andrew, down on the boundary there for the pre-match. A lot of families, dads and their daughters, kids. So different atmosphere to the we're talking about. It was slightly different to the Test match, or your traditional form of cricket lover. This is different to when we were in Canberra last week. Here's Zampa. Bowls to Williamson, who drives it for a single. Down to Stoinis at long on. Williamson will move to double figures. He's 10 off 14. And New Zealand up by 1 for 84 in the 9th over. Australia captain Aaron Finch again winning the toss and again sending the opposition in. We saw that throughout the series against England. Still to come for New Zealand, Glenn Phillips, Mark Chapman, James Neesham, the all-rounder, Mitch Santner, Tim Southee, Lockie Ferguson, Sodhi and Trent Boult. Zampa to Conway, reverse sweep, but he hits it straight to third man, which is inside the rope in Aaron Finch. Would have been better off going the traditional sweep. Yeah, he might have been. Well, good field set, 2 men behind square on the offside, 45 on the onside bloke, right out deep backwards square leg. So Adam Zampa, his skill at this form of the game is making batters hit the ball to where he's got fielders. 2 balls to come in the 9th over. Zampa to Conway's down the track, hits this high, hits it straight, hits it hard for a 6. Yeah, no fielders there, Andrew. That is magnificent striking. Well, there weren't even any people in the crowd there because it's into the batter's eye at that northern end of the ground, and Devon Conway moves to 37 and a powerful 6 for the New Zealander. 90 metres, they reckon it went. He picked it out of the hand. It was a wrong and out the back of the hand. It was down the wicket quickly, skipped down, picked it up on the half volley and plundered it away over pretty straight, mid-on-ish, but still straight enough to go into the sight screen area. 1 for 90. So now it's Conway defending. Shout for LBW by Zampa. Fielded square on the offside by Matt Wade. Not out is the call. Stewie Clark next to me is very confident that could be out, which is a big call from a couple of 100 metres away. And Aaron Finch says, yes, we will challenge. I reckon that's out. I think it's pad first. Question mark if it's landed in line would be my only thing. And maybe he's fraction down the wicket, but I think that's going to be very, very close. With Langton Rosaire, the third umpire. Who's the third umpire? Langton Rosaire. Oh, okay. I know who that is. So Conway given not out. He's 37. It's 1 for 90. And where does that ball pitch? Is it outside leg or in line? No, it might be in line. I reckon it's in line. And that is pad first. You might well be right, Stewie Clark.
It seems to have come off pad first. Take that back a frame for me.
The height, because he's a little bit away now, it's got topspin on it. It may actually bounce over the top of the stumps here. It's certainly in line.
So clearly pad first.
That's the only
Let's go
thing.
to. Let's just confirm with outer edge though.
The only thing that can save Devon Conway, you would think.
He's a long way down.
Hits him above the knee, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Pad
go
first.
to Boult checking when ready.
We know it's pad first.
The Australians know it's not out. They're all wandering
Boult
back
checking
to their
when ready.
positions.
Original decision is not out.
Pitches
Pitching
in line.
Impact in line.
And over the
And
stumps.
wickets missing. Stay with your original not out decision. Stand by.
So 9 runs off the over, 1 for 90 after 9 overs. Conway 37 on 23 deliveries. Kane Williamson on 10. And Mitchell Starc will come back into the attack from this Paddington end of the SCG. Zampa, by the way, 2 overs, no wicket for 18.
Just not sure how that was going over the top of the stumps.
Mind you, it was forward and it did hit him above the roll. And as you say, if it's
The top spin on, I know, but
well, there's someone in the crowd who is really disgruntled about that decision. A youngster who's got a mighty mullet.
I know what I'd be more disgruntled about, his parents with his hair.
I can only assume they'd let him have that mullet. Now there's more time delay. Kane Williamson's on the ground doing push-ups. Mitchell Starc's taking
But he
up
wasn't
his
doing
position.
push-ups.
Was to have a stretch.
He was not doing push-ups.
It was Conway.
Just punched out a set of 10, did he?
So it's going to be Williamson on strike with a deep third man. Oh, texts are coming through as well. 0467 920 222. As Mitchell Starc is coming into bowl to Williamson, who's 10 off 14 deliveries. Starc 1 over for 14, got hammered by Finn Allen to start this game. And Williamson punched him down towards Tim David at long on for a single. Williamson 11. New Zealand 1 for 91 in the 10th over.
140 kilometres an hour, that one. Full Yorker type delivery, just sort of scunged out, back down the wicket by Williamson. We saw in the World Cup final.
Scunged out?
Yeah, scunged out. Didn't really sort of get it. We saw in the World Cup final, the ones Kane Williamson gets, he actually can take the bowling on and play some of those ramps and those different type shots that you see in T20 cricket. Just takes him a little bit to get going.
So he's faced 15 deliveries. Conway's 24 deliveries for 37 runs, and he's on strike. Lefty on lefty. Starc bowls driven. Square on the offside. Bounces wide of Aaron Finch. They should get 2. Coming to his right from mid-off to do the fielding is Tim David, and they do come back very comfortably for a second run. Conway 39. New Zealand 1 for 93. On the SMS 0467 920 222. A spider in the commentary box. You're quite sure Louis isn't hiding somewhere nearby. Well, that being Luke Lewis, former Premier
Is he scared?
footballer. No, I am. Looking forward to listening to your call. You would Blood Ravage Moree. I hope you're doing all right.
Down the bottom there, the thing was about 1 millimetre by.
It was dangerous. Yeah, it wasn't in the box. It was downstairs and it leapt
Didn't
at
have
me,
teeth.
spat at me. Starc bowls to Conway, who's forward defending, and then sets off for a run as it beat the bowler Starc. To David at mid-off. Conway 40. 1 for 94 in the 10th over. So thank you, Neil, and hope you and everyone in these flood-damaged areas are hanging in there. Craig from Foster, great to hear you calling cricket. Andrew will miss Luke Lewis and John Gibbs over the summer, but great to hear your voice over the summer of cricket. Cheers, Craig. It's great to be here. This is an exciting tournament. And
Imagine if we let Louis into the commentary box.
no,
Cricket.
Luke Lewis, for people who don't know him, is the greatest prankster or worst in the history of planet Earth. Here's Starc bowling to Williamson, who's backing across and punches it with good timing, but straight to deep backward point. Cummins is there. So again, only a single for Williamson. He's 12. He's just struggling to move it along beyond those singles. At least he's rotating the strike. 1 for 95. 2 balls left in a 10th over, which has so far yielded 5 runs for the Black Caps.
It's sort of the way he plays those we were talking about. He just gets himself going, stuck down one end. You can get and all of a sudden you look up and he's 20 and then has to take on the boundaries.
Well, Glenn Phillips, who's due in next, has got a strike rate of 145.47. Here's Starc bowling to Conway. Well pitched up. That's the famous Starc Yorker. He clamped down on a Conway, but the ball trickles behind the stumps. And now there's a delayed appeal by both Starc and Dave Warner, who's coming in from backward point. And I'd struggle to believe they'll use up their second challenge.
I wouldn't waste it. No, I think he got some bat on that. Again, did it hit his foot before it hit the bat? That's the question. Aaron Finch not bothering. Timer's now up. Wouldn't be wasting it here. It was a good full in-swinging Yorker by Mitchell Starc. Just see if it clips his toe. Nope.
No, bat on to Pat, clearly. So good decision. Australia only has one of its challenges left. Australia 1 over down in the over rate It's Starc bowling to Conway to end the 10th over. It's short, it's pulled, it's not timed, but he gets it nice and fine. Stoinis to his left from deep backward square, and there's plenty of time for Conway to come back for a second run. In fact, it's Zampa down there now. So they do get 2. Conway's 42 off 28. Kane Williamson is not out 12. We are 10 overs into the innings, and now there'll be a little strategy session, and 1 for 97. Mitchell Starc, 2 overs, none for 21. There were 7 runs off that. 42 to Conway, Williamson 12. Finn Allen, the player out, bowled by Josh Hazlewood for 42 off 16 deliveries. It was 1 for 56, now 1 for 97. Stewie Clark will remain here on Grandstand Cricket and to be joined now by Matt Clinch.
The T20 Cricket World Cup on the ABC Listen app, ABC Sport Digital and BBC 5 Sports Extra.
Thanks, Andrew. Good evening, Stewie. Good evening, everyone. Great to have your company on Grandstand Cricket. The players are getting a refreshment or two. With Kane Williamson on 12, Devon Conway on 42. Finn Allen, the one who exploded the New Zealand innings with 42 from 16 deliveries. The Kiwis 1 for 97 after 10 overs. The first match of the Super 12 taking place from Sydney. And of course, after this, we head to Perth, England taking on Afghanistan. What have you made of the bowling rotations, Clark? Because it's always a challenging one for the captain at the start of a World Cup. We saw Mitch Starc at the start go 14 runs off his first over. Josh Hazlewood for 15. Pat Cummins for 17 after 3 overs. New Zealand were none for 46. Is that sort of the modern landscape that you often bowling over? Apart from Adam Zampa, we've just about seen a bowling change at the end of each over.
I think it's the modern way the game's played. You never bowl more than 1 over in a row unless you get a few wickets and you knock over a few guys in your first over. But they don't like. They talk about batters lining you up. And they talk about too much same.
Yep.
That's the difference in T20. That's how it's evolved, especially from a bowling point of view. So you're always ready to bowl. It can happen in T20 cricket. You can you run in bowl some really good balls and just get pounded to all parts of the boundary. And I thought Cummins, Starc and Hazlewood, they didn't bowl badly. Some really, really good clean hitting from Allen at the start of the innings. And unfortunately, the Australians are now on the back foot. But, Aaron Finch will go through his bowlers. We'll see a little bit more of Zampa. We'll certainly see Starc, Hazlewood and Cummins do their bit. And I think he likes going to... Marcus Stoinis seems to be his go-to. Oh, he's actually going to bowl now. I didn't realise that, but he because he bowls with such variation. Marcus Stoinis won't bowl 2 balls the same way. He'll bowl a off-cutter slower ball. He'll bowl a back of the hand slower ball. He'll bowl a quicket ball. Then he'll bowl almost like a knuckle ball. So it's just you can't line him up. And as long as he gets his length right, it's very hard.
So in terms of the Australian bowlers, Mitchell Starc 2 overs, none for 21. Josh Hazlewood 2 overs, 1 for 19. Pat Cummins 2 overs, none for 22. Marcus Stoinis 2 overs, none for 17. And Adam Zampa 2 overs, none for 18. So will he buy a couple of overs in the middle with, you'd expect Glenn Maxwell to bowl a few? Mitch Marsh?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the
looking at your own name on the scorecard from Cape Town, 2007. Our own Stuart Clark featured.
I can't even remember the game, but another one of those games I cannot remember anything about it. So, beautiful 4 overs, 1 for 13. Just, very good efforts back in the day.
So, Clarky, tell me about Cape Town, 2007.
Really good game. We beat Bangladesh. Brett Lee got a hat-trick, so there you go. But I think that's the game's just evolved so much since then that I'd probably bowl those 4 overs in a row. I wouldn't do that do that now.
So Marcus Stoinis back into the attack from the Randwick end here at the SCG. Bowling to Kane Williamson over the wicket. He's looking to loft it over the top of forward square for 6. 6 rows back and into the crowd. Kane Williamson shows some power hitting. He moves to 18 from 17 deliveries. New Zealand 1 for 103 at the start of the 11th over.
What a lovely shot that is. Slower ball by Stoinis. You can just see this sort of ran outside, and he got down almost like a sweep shot. Hoiked it away over backward square leg to the short leg side boundary. Changing the field, deep backward square's gone out, and man, at fine legs come up inside the circle. But this is Kane. This is the thing with Kane Williamson. He knocks it around single, and all of a sudden you look up and he starts playing shots like that.
So the 3 out on the deep on the leg side, providing the comfort for Stoinis if he can get his line right. Comes in, wide outside the off stump. Williamson trying to hit it wide of the fielder at mid-off, quickly through for the single as it's gathered by David Warner. Williamson to 19. New Zealand 1 for 104 in the 11th over. Matt Clinch and Stuart Clark with you on Grandstand Cricket on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital and via BBC 5 Sports Extra. Don't forget the ABC Listen app where you can hear so much of the World Cup. Just look for the white World Cup cricket ball and you won't miss a minute of the action. Almost getting to that stage of sort of asking you for scores, Stewie. We've now seen 10 overs. At the start, the run rate was sort of around 14 and over. It's back now under 10, but sort of anywhere above sort of 180 to 200 is on the cards.
Well, I said to Andrew at the start of the game, I thought 170 would be about right.
Stoinis comes into Conway, short of a length. He pulls it just forward of square leg for a single out to the sweeper in the deep. It's gathered by Mitchell Starc.
I think I might be short now. I was worried early on in the season just not enough hardness in the wicket. We haven't had a lot of heat in Sydney at the moment. It's been quite wet, as everyone knows. And I just thought there'd be a little bit of moisture in the surface, but I think the groundsman and the curator have done a really good job with this surface. Looks very nice to bat on. The ball's coming onto the bat. We've seen some nice shots played to all parts. It hasn't really spun. So I think I've said, I readjusted up to that 180, 190 mark. And if they keep going at this rate, they'll probably end up at that 200 mark as well, which is going to be a really, really good chase for the Australians this evening.
Stoinis comes in, short ball to Williamson. It gets underneath it and pulls it backward of square leg just for a single as it's gathered down on the rope by Mitch Marsh. New Zealand 1 for 106 in the 11th over. Williamson moves to 20. Conway now on strike, 43 from 29 deliveries. The other thing you notice when you were down there, just having a look at the pre-game, is that's the 50 partnership coming up off of 40 deliveries after the wicket of Finn Allen, who was out for 42. So an electric start and then a good partnership from these two.
Yeah, very much. Allen was took the game to the Australians, which is what you want to see. And these two now building a very nice partnership.
Marcus Stoinis comes in down the leg side and Conway's able to help it on its way down to fine leg. Adam Zampa races around to his left, but they'll turn and come back for two. So Marcus Stoinis just losing his line a little bit there. New Zealand 1 for 108 with Conway to 45.
Very much gone away. And when we first started, T20 came out, we're still trying to take wickets. Australians and teams around the world are just happy to concede a single, aren't they? If they just went for 120, they'd be happy. Still think they need to try and take a wicket or two just to slow the stem of runs for the New Zealand batters or whoever's batting.
Stoinis in over the wicket, short ball to Conway, and he's able to just pull it down just forward of mid-wicket for a single as it's gathered in the deep. Making his way up from the rope is Glenn Maxwell, almost a tennis sort of smash as he just used the pace to work it onto the onside. End of the over, and after 11 overs, New Zealand having been sent in by Australia, a 1 for 109. With Conway on 46, Williamson on 20. Matt Clinch and Stuart Clark with you on Grandstand Cricket. So still to come, Glenn Phillips, Mark Chapman, Jimmy Neesham, Mitch Santner, Sodhi, Tim Southee, Lockie Ferguson and Trent Boult. So
interesting they're going to go with Starc again. Usually they save Starc up to the end. We've seen that over time, that Mitchell Starc full and straight at the end of an innings, but Aaron Finch must feel as though that the game's starting to slip away to some extent, that we better get Starc on here. That'll be 3 of his 4 done, which means he's only got 1 at the end.
None for 21 so far for Mitchell Starc. Charging in from the Paddington end here at the SCG. Bowling to Devon Conway, wide outside the off stump. He gets a bottom edge to it as it's taken by Matthew Wade behind the stumps.
Yeah, slower ball there by Starc, wide outside off stump. If he bowls full, he goes straight at the stumps to try and take that, that ability to hit it out through the offside. When he bowls an off-speed ball, I've noticed he's bowling wider from the stumps and forcing the left-hander to try and use the pace and hit it out through the offside. To create his own pace and hit it out through the offside.
Mitchell Starc at the top of his mark. Left arm over the wicket. Comes in full delivery. Conway's able to dig it out, play it down to short third where Warner initially got to it. It trickles away from him, but just a single for Conway, who moves to 46. New Zealand 1 for 110.
Certainly look the goods tonight, New Zealand, haven't they? They've come out firing from ball one. They look confident. I watched them in the warm-up. They looked like they were buzzing about, jumping about. So they've certainly come in with confidence. It's unbelievable, and Andrew Moore said before the game that they haven't won here in 11 years or something like that. It's ridiculous to think about that, the team they've had. Unfortunately, the Australians have just been too good.
Haven't beaten Australia in any format in Australia since 2011. As Mitchell Starc comes into the New Zealand captain, who's trying to step across to the leg side, it trickles out backward a point. as he gets an outside edge and racing around Warner does the fielding. A single to Williamson to move to 21, 1 for 112 in the 12th over.
Mitchell Starc, he's got mid-off up, cover, mid-on, deep mid-on's back in the mid-wicket, and the guy at point or backward point. So anything that's full drop kick length on off stump will come back straight back down the ground over mid-off. So batter will be looking for the right length to get up and under. If not, use the pace and work it away.
Conway is 47 at the moment as he's waiting. Mitchell Starc trying to work it down square of the wicket. Just works it to mid-wicket where Mitch Marsh does the fielding. So picking up the singles after the explosive start. Conway moves closer to his half-century. It's 48 from 34 deliveries. New Zealand 1 for 112.
And if you break it down, that if they get a run off every ball, it's at least 6 and over. Okay, that's no rocket science in that. But you just assume that they're going to pick up a 2 or a 3 or something like that throughout and hit a boundary every now and again. So that goes to 7 or 8 very quickly. So it's how many more than 7 or 8 over can they get?
Starc in, full delivery to Williamson. He works it off his toes, just plays it through to mid-wicket. Aaron Finch is right on the back of the circle, so able to comfortably get through for a single. Williamson to 23, 1 for 113.
Have you seen a game where the over-target thing... have you seen a game where the poor bloke gets to bowl his last over, he's done nothing wrong. Right? He just goes, oh, you got to bowl the last over. And he goes, great. And he goes, oh, by the way, we can only have 4 out.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah. So just on the big screens, we're seeing, the sponsors logo telling us there's 34 minutes for Australia to complete their bowling innings. As Mitchell Starc full with another beautiful Yorker, and it's dug out by Conway as he plays it down to long off for a single. Tim David does the fielding after 12 overs. New Zealand 1 for 114 with Conway on 49, Williamson on 22. Matt Clinch and Stuart Clark with you on Grandstand Cricket on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital and via BBC 5 Sports Extra. And of course the ABC Listen app is the home of the World Cup. As always, you can get in touch with us on the SMS 0467 920 222. Or if you want to email us, you can do that through the correspondence at the BBC website, which if Maury touches that button, we've lost our screen again. But we'll give you that in a second or so's time. And yes, it costs a little bit more if you're sending us a text message from the UK.
I saw one of the SMSs there, and there was a question about why does Aaron Finch not tuck his shirt in. He's actually got his sweater on, I think, is the reason. It's not his shirt hanging out. So
someone saying that's not a flattering look for him.
Yeah, it's a jumper. Zampa's going to come on.
Zampa comes into Conway, who uses his feet, looks to hit it high and long, out to deep mid-wicket, one bounce, I think, and over the rope for 6. Or Maxwell might not have got there. I think it cleared the rope in the end. 6. And a great way to start the over for Devon Conway, who brings up his half-century. He's 55 from 36 deliveries. New Zealand 1 for 120.
He's got 50 there for Devon Conway. 55 off 36 deliveries, as you said, Clinchy. Just looks like they're both going to target Zampa here. Doesn't get a lot of turn on the ball, and both targeting straight. And if he doesn't quite get the length, he'll just drag it around over deep mid-wicket. Fielder very square out in the deep.
42 from Finn Allen, now 55 from Devon Conway, who walks down the pitch to Zampa. The fielder's in the deep at deep mid-wicket. They turn and come back for 2 as Maxwell kind of gestured for Warner, who came charging in from long on to do the fielding. And allowed New Zealand to comfortably get back for 2. Conway to 57, 1 for 122 in the 13th over.
Good batting that, sort of can get the ball the right pace so it only goes to about the inner circle there. And get up and down the wicket quickly. Williamson backing up.
Zampa, the leading wicket taker for Australia in the last World Cup, wide this next delivery, and Conway's able to guide it out to the sweeper in the covers. And deep cover, Pat Cummins races around to his right to do the fielding. Devon Conway to 58 from 38 deliveries. New Zealand 1 for 123. Zampa having gone for 9 already from his first 3 deliveries.
A lot of pressure on the Australians now. Aaron Finch marshalling his troops, trying to find a way to get a wicket. So important to just stem this flow of runs, just to break up the momentum of the New Zealanders. You can just feel it building and building and building.
Zampa wide outside the off stump. Williamson's able to punch it through the gap in the covers. Out to Glenn Maxwell, the sweeper on the offside for just a single. Williamson to 23, 1 for 124 in the 13th over.
He'll be frustrated with that, Williamson. It was a rank half tracker. And if he'd hit it a lot squarer, he would have gone for 4, but he ended up just getting too much of it, and unfortunately, just a single.
10 off the over though. Zampa comes in.
And जल्दी से चैनल सब्सक्राइब कर दे और वीडियो को लाइक कर दे.
Out to Glenn Maxwell, who does the fielding at deep mid-wicket. Just a single for Devon Conway. 1 for 125 with Conway on 59. So is it Conway now who becomes the attacker? 13 overs in.
I think so. I think he's probably more of a power hitter than Williamson. Williamson's got some, he can clear the boundary as we've seen before, but I think Conway to Zampa just seems to have his measure.
Zampa flights a quick delivery, the reverse sweep from Williamson. That's close, that's out. LBW as he struck on the pad. Kane Williamson just having a thought or two as to whether he's going to review this.
I thought he was getting a send-off. So that was what was going on. But no, those days are done. Williamson doesn't seem like the type of bloke. Oh no, he's going to go upstairs. He's got two anyway. He may as well use one. No great drama. I think unless he's got
सब्सक्राइब कर दे वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दे.
Can't see how this is missing the stumps. It was a quick delivery by Zampa. Nice and full. Williamson went to reverse sweep, and I think it's hit him right in front. Unless he's got a bottom edge on this, I think it'll be a good night. He's looking at his bat.
Spin vision coming up, Adrian.
So here the TV umpire, Langdon Reserve, talk us through here.
Both there. Let's go to outside edge, please, to confirm.
So just confirming it didn't get a bottom edge off the bat.
I don't know about that. I'm looking in here. There's a big gap. No.
No.
He's missed that by about 3 inches, hasn't he?
I was looking at the ultra edge, which is once the ball was past the bat.
Yeah, if you look at we're looking at the shot of just the live picture in replay, and he's about 3 inches away from hitting that one, so it's a pretty average review, to be fair, but anyway, Kane Williamson's the captain, he's allowed to do one.
So we've gone through all the motions, no bat involved, hitting between middle and off stump. And New Zealand are 2 for 125 with their captain Kane Williamson out LBW to Zampa for 23 from 23 deliveries. And it brings Glenn Phillips, the new batter, out to the middle for New Zealand. The 25-year-old playing in his 50th T20 International. He scored 1,094 runs, a high score of 108, an average of 32, including 1 century and 6 half centuries, a strike rate of 145. But Williamson with 23, Finn Allen with 42. Now builds a good platform for New Zealand, but Adam Zampa, importantly, gets the breakthrough.
And we're going to see Postman Pat, aren't we? Postman Pat from the members' end. Got touched up in his first over.
So Pat Cummins, 2 overs, none for 22. Come back into the attack from the Paddington end here at the SCG. Glenn Phillips is the new batter at the non-strikers end. Pat Cummins starts a new over. Comes into Conway, wide outside the off stump, hit just wide of Finch. Lunging at extra cover. It was in the air momentarily. It might have landed just in front of him. Tim David races after. He tries to flick it back to Maxwell, but missed him. So it allows them to comfortably come back for a third.
That was like... Yes, they're all dot balls as well, but you've got to rebuild the whole time. So New Zealand, again, knock it around, and then, last couple of overs, take it on.
Into the new batter, Glenn Phillips, the right-hander, leans forward to Pat Cummins as plays it down to mid-off, where Marcus Stoinis comes racing up to do the fielding. 2 for 128 in the 14th over. Conway on 62 from 40 deliveries, and Phillips yet to get off the mark. So you played that 4th grade today with your son?
Yeah.
Did you see some of the fielding like we saw then?
Oh, not that bad.
You were with the bat. Were you with the bat today?
No, bat was last week. I had a bat last week, so.
Pat Cummins, right arm over the wicket, into Phillips, who's leaning forward and pushing it back down the pitch, and Pat Cummins is able to do the fielding.
It's an amazing skill for guys now. I watch T20 players come out and just turn up, take the first ball and just start swinging it and get them all clean. It's such a trained skill for T20 specialist players to be able to do that. In the old days, you had to get your eye, watch a few, let a few go. Not anymore. You block 2 and almost like, what are you doing? Get on with it.
Yeah. It's more that baseball mindset, isn't it? Come out and start swinging. Cummins into Phillips, back of the length. He's able to drive it just forward of extra cover, and that's nicely timed. Wow. Races down to the rope for 4. Nothing more than a push onto the offside, and Mitchell Starc racing around from the boundary. Wasn't able to cut it off. Phillips is off the mark with the boundary.
It was a cracking shot. It was full. Pat Cummins sort of bowled 2 pretty decent balls, been defended. That's not a half volley by any means, and it's just been punished through cover.
New Zealand 2 for 128. Phillips with his first boundary. Awaiting Pat Cummins, a short ball, a slower delivery. He's able to just pull it down to fine leg. Takes off for the single and will come back for 2. The throw is to Matthew Wade, who was behind the stumps. It's Josh Hazlewood raced around to do the fielding and fine leg. So a couple to Phillips to move to 6. New Zealand 2 for 134 with 1 delivery to come in the 14th over.
Very quick Phillips then. He sort of head down the moment he hit it. Didn't look like there was 2, but he was always going. Just backed his speed. Looks like a good athlete, Phillips. Gets up and down the wicket, in and out of the blocks quickly as he turned.
Nine so far off the over from Pat Cummins. As Cummins comes in, bowls to Phillips, who's pushing forward but defending back down the pitch. And the end of the over, New Zealand 2 for 134. Stuart Clark's having a breather. He was fascinated by the different camera angles, of course, we have for this World Cup. It is a ICC television broadcast, so we see a few different tricks to what we traditionally see on the television monitors in our commentary box, and it brings Cameron Green back alongside Matt Clinch with you on Grandstand Cricket. Welcome back, Cam. Chris.
Matt, it's all right. I was going to say, that's Cameron Green sitting down there. I'd like to swap with him if I'm honest. I do like spending time with you on air, but being in the World Cup's got to be pretty nice.
It would be good, wouldn't it? What about his time in international cricket?
Great
talk about an all-time dream to find your way into the Australian side, and now just the possibility of being a 3-format player. It's the stuff of dreams, isn't it?
It is. And if we call him Chris Green enough, maybe I'll get a gig in the next match.
2 for 134 New Zealand, and Adam Zampa is going to continue from the Randwick end here as he's bowling wide of Devon Conway. He's able to rock back and cut out to the sweeper in the deep as Pat Cummins does the fielding. And a single to start the 15th over, 2 for 135 with Matt Clinch and Chris Green with you on ABC Sport.
It's been a topsy-turvy game so far, and the 2 momentum swingers have been the wickets for the Australians. They've been able to build a little bit of pressure despite that unbelievable cover drive we just witnessed from Glenn Phillips. And it's key. He's a busy cricketer. I've played a lot against Glenn, and he's got all the shots, and he likes to be busy from the word go. So we've seen that already with the way he's up the tempo with his running. It'd be key for the Aussies to try and peg him down and build that pressure.
Adam Zampa at the top of his mark. Comes in and bowls to Phillips, who's rocking back and cutting through the gap in the covers, just for a single out to Glenn Maxwell, who does the fielding. Phillips to 7, 2 for 136 in the 15th over. So what's Adam Zampa thinking here in your mind?
Yeah, it's his last over. Look, I think he'd want to be spending a lot of the time trying to bowl at Glenn Phillips, or certainly that's his better matchup. It is the newer batter, it is the right-handed batter. He can attack his stumps, and Devon Conway's obviously set. So you'll try and get Devon Conway off strike here and try and bowl more at Glenn Phillips.
Zampa down the leg side to Conway, and a wide is called as Matthew Wade steps across to his right to cleanly take it.
And that was his tactic there, just missing down the leg, but trying to tuck him up into the hip for him to force one to either the short fine leg or deep backward square where his field's set.
So he's got Josh Hazlewood at short fine leg, and Aaron Finch at deep third. Comes in, next delivery, it beats Conway, and Wade's able to whip off the bails. He almost lost his balance as the next delivery Zampa threw out a little bit wider. Had Conway off balance.
That's what he's so good at, Adam Zampa. Orchestrating the plan to bowl tie, as I was just speaking about the ball before, and his wrong and is such a good delivery. So then going across Devon Conway, a little bit of a carrot with the width, but it spins away and beats the outside edge, and hence he was off balance with his weight falling away to the leg side.
And just his back foot staying inside his crease. So good bowling from Adam Zampa. He comes into Conway, he's hitting hard down the ground. Beautifully timed as he smacks it down the ground. Too wide for long off.
न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 143, 2 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 14.5 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। ज़ैम्पा आए हैं गेंद करने के लिए, सामना करेंगे फिलिप्स, और आखिरी गेंद पे एक स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ 144 फॉर 2 आफ्टर 15 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। न्यूजीलैंड का जो करंट रन रेट है वो 9.60 है। डेवन कॉनवे बहुत अच्छी बैटिंग करते हुए 70 के स्कोर पे बैटिंग कर रहे हैं, 45 गेंदों का सामना किया। फिलिप्स ने 6 गेंदों का सामना किया है और 7 स्कोर उन्होंने किए हैं। एडम जंपा के 4 ओवर मुकम्मल हुए। जंपा ने 4 ओवर में 39 रन्स दिए हैं और 1 विकेट हासिल की है न्यूजीलैंड के कैप्टन विलियमसन की। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 144, 144 फॉर 2 आफ्टर 15 ओवर्स। द करंट रन रेट इज 9.60। अगले ओवर में अब सामना करेंगे डेवन कॉनवे। इस 5 ओवर का खेल बाकी है। 5 ओवर्स में न्यूजीलैंड ने देखते हैं कितने स्कोर करते हैं। जिस हिसाब से न्यूजीलैंड के विकेट्स इस वक्त हैजलवुड आए हैं पहली गेंद पे 1 स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ। स्कोर का टोटल स्कोर 145 फॉर 2। 15.1 ओवर का इख्तिताम हो चुका है। विकेट्स इन हैंड है और उम्मीद करते हैं कि न्यूजीलैंड यहाँ से एक काफ़ी अच्छा स्कोर करने में कामयाब हो जाएगा, क्योंकि पीछे अभी नीशम है, चैपमैन है। अच्छी बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की जो भी पीछे अवेलेबल है। ये हैजलवुड आए गेंद की और कोई स्कोर नहीं मिला इस गेंद पे। डॉट बॉल 145 रन हो चुके हैं 2 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। 15.2 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। बहुत ही अच्छी बॉलिंग जेश हैजलवुड की। 16वें ओवर का खेल जारी है और 145 रन हो चुके हैं। 15.2 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। हैजलवुड सामना करेंगे ग्लेन फिलिप्स। काफ़ी अग्रेसिव बैट्समैन हैं न्यूजीलैंड के। अब तक 7 गेंदों का सामना कर चुके हैं और 7 ही रन्स बनाए हैं। करंट जो उनका स्ट्राइक रेट है वो 100 का है। जोश हैजलवुड गेंद करने आए हैं, गेंद करेंगे। थर्ड अंपायर को फैसला दिया है। बॉलिंग रिव्यू लिया है न्यूजीलैंड ने, ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने अपील की थी लेकिन अंपायर ने आउट नहीं दिया, तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने रिव्यू लिया है। देखते हैं इसका क्या फैसला होता है। 145 रन हो चुके हैं न्यूजीलैंड के। 2 खिलाड़ी आउट हो चुके हैं। नॉट आउट करार पाए फिलिप्स, और ये रिव्यू भी लॉस्ट हो गया है। ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने अपने दोनों रिव्यू जो उनके पास अवेलेबल थे दोनों ही उन्होंने ज़ाया कर दिए हैं। हैजलवुड आएंगे, गेंद करेंगे फिलिप्स को आए गेंद की, गेंद हवा के अंदर, शानदार शॉट फिलिप्स की जानब से 4 रन के लिए। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 149। 2 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 15.3 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। जोश हैजलवुड है बॉलर, 2 ओवर्स और तीसरे ओवर की 3 गेंदें करा चुके हैं और 24 रन अब तक वो दे चुके हैं। अपने तीसरे ओवर में अब तक उन्होंने 3 गेंदें की हैं और 5 रन दिए हैं। 149 स्कोर है। 2 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 15.3 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। फिलिप्स सामना करेंगे हैजलवुड का। हैजलवुड आए गेंद की और इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिल सकेगा। एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का 150 रन्स मुकम्मल हुए। 150 रन्स हो चुके हैं बोर्ड पे। 2 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। 15.4 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। अब जोश हैजलवुड का सामना करेंगे कॉनवे, डेवन कॉनवे, जो कि 71 रन पे बैटिंग कर रहे हैं। 46 गेंदों का सामना कर चुके हैं। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 150। 2 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 15.4 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 16वें ओवर की 5वीं गेंद करने के लिए जोश हैजलवुड आए और इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 151 स्कोर हो चुका है। 2 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। 15.5 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 16वें ओवर की आखिरी गेंद जोश हैजलवुड करेंगे, सामना करेंगे फिलिप्स। 151 स्कोर है। 2 खिलाड़ी आउट हुए हैं न्यूजीलैंड के। जोश हैजलवुड आए गेंद की, सामना कर रहे हैं फिलिप्स। वाइट बॉल का इशारा एम्पायर की जानब से और ये एक एक्स्ट्रा का रन मिला है न्यूजीलैंड को। 152 स्कोर हो चुका है और 2 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हुए हैं। 152 न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर है। 2 खिलाड़ी आउट होने पे 15.5 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। फिलिप्स सामना करेंगे हैजलवुड का। हैजलवुड तीसरा ओवर की आखिरी गेंद कर रहे हैं। आए गेंद की और गेंद हवा के अंदर और कैच आउट। फिलिप्स आउट हो गए हैं, कैच आउट हो गए हैं और न्यूजीलैंड की 152 स्कोर पे तीसरा खिलाड़ी आउट हो चुका है। 16 ओवर का इख्तिताम हो चुका है। 16 ओवर के इख्तिताम पे न्यूजीलैंड ने 152 रन स्कोर किए हैं। उसके 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हो चुके हैं। एक अच्छा ओवर हैजलवुड की जानब से। इस ओवर में 7 स्कोर दिए हैं हैजलवुड ने और एक अहम विकेट फिलिप्स की ली है हैजलवुड ने। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 152। 3 खिलाड़ी के आउट होने पे 16 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 16 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है और 16 ओवर के खात्मे पे न्यूजीलैंड ने 152 स्कोर कर चुका है और उसके 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हुए हैं। एक अच्छी बॉलिंग की है हैजलवुड ने। 152 रन्स न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर है। 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 16 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। मेरी तमाम लिसनर से ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि इस चैनल को काइंडली सब्सक्राइब कर दें और लाइक कर दें। इस चैनल को लाजमी सब्सक्राइब कर दें, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया, और लाइक भी करते जाएं। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 152 है 3 खिलाड़ी के आउट होने पे। और आए गेंद की और 4 रन पहली ही गेंद पे। स्टॉइनिस का ओवर था। पहली ही गेंद पे कॉनवे ने 4 रन हासिल किए हैं। 17वें ओवर का खेल शुरू हो चुका है। नीशम आए हैं नए बैट्समैन। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 156 रन 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। 17वें ओवर का खेल जारी है। 17वें ओवर की पहली गेंद हो चुकी है। स्टॉइनिस गेंद करने के लिए आए हैं। पहली ही गेंद पे 4 रन का इजाफा हुआ है। अच्छी शॉट खेली है डेवन कॉनवे ने। कॉनवे इस वक्त खेल रहे हैं 76 के स्कोर पे। आए स्टॉइनिस आए, अगली गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 157 हुआ है 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। 157 न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर है 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। 16.2 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। न्यूजीलैंड 157 स्कोर कर चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हुए हैं 16.2 ओवर के इख्तिताम पे। अब नीशम सामना करेंगे स्टॉइनिस का। नीशम पहली गेंद अपनी खेलेंगे, गेंद करेंगे स्टॉइनिस आए, गेंद की नीशम ने अच्छी शॉट और लेकिन एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 158। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हो चुके हैं। इस मैच की सिर्फ 21 गेंदें बाकी हैं। न्यूजीलैंड के पास 7 विकेट्स उनके बाकी हैं। देखते हैं 21 गेंदों पे न्यूजीलैंड कितना स्कोर कर पाता है। एक अच्छा टोटल, इस वक्त एक बहुत अच्छा स्कोर करने में कामयाब हो चुका है न्यूजीलैंड। 158 रन। अगली गेंद आए, गेंद और इस पे एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा और इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 159। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। 16.4 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। जो कॉनवे 78 के स्कोर पे खेल रहे हैं, 50 गेंदों का सामना किया है। बैटिंग अब सामना करेंगे नीशम, जो कि एक गेंद खेल चुके हैं और एक ही स्कोर किया है। आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि चैनल को लाजमी सब्सक्राइब कर दें और वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें। बहुत शुक्रिया आपका। आएंगे स्टॉइनिस आए गेंद की और इस गेंद पे भी एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 160। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हो चुके हैं। 16.5 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। करंट रन रेट 9.50 का है। 9.50 के रन रेट के साथ 160 रन हो चुके हैं। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हो चुके हैं न्यूजीलैंड के। स्टॉइनिस अब गेंद करेंगे, सामना करेंगे कॉनवे। 161 रन हैं। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हो चुके हैं। आए गेंद की और एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा और अच्छा ओवर स्टॉइनिस की तरफ से। 17 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। आखिरी गेंद पे एक स्कोर मिला। इस एक स्कोर के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 161। 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 17 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 161 फॉर 3। कॉनवे 79 रन पे खेल रहे हैं। नीशम ने 2 गेंदों का सामना किया है और 2 ही रन स्कोर किए हैं। 3 ओवर का खेल बाकी है। 18 गेंदें इस पहली इनिंग्स की बाकी हैं। 18 गेंदों पे न्यूजीलैंड क्या 200 स्कोर करने में कामयाब होता है? 39 मजीद रन चाहिए न्यूजीलैंड को 200 का हिस्सा अबूर करने के लिए। और अगर न्यूजीलैंड 200 का हिस्सा अबूर करता है तो एक नफसियाती प्रेशर होगा ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बैट्समैन पे। ये विकेट बैटिंग के लिए काफ़ी साजगार है। एक अच्छी मैच की उम्मीद है। ऑस्ट्रेलिया अगर पावर प्ले का अच्छा इस्तेमाल करता है और विकेट नहीं खोता तो ये अच्छा मैच एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं। पहला ओवर किया कमन्स ने, 17वें ओवर की पहली गेंद की और इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। 162 रन हो चुके हैं 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। अब सामना करेंगे नीशम, बाउलर हैं कमिंस। 17.1 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 18वें ओवर की दूसरी गेंद करने के लिए कमिंस आए, गेंद की नीशम को, शानदार शॉट नीशम की तरफ से। 6 रन्स नीशम ने 6 रन्स के लिए शॉट खेली है। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर इस 6 रन्स के साथ 168 168 फॉर 3, 168 पे न्यूजीलैंड के 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। 17.2 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। कमिंस काफ़ी महंगे बॉलर साबित हुए हैं अभी तक। 38 स्कोर दे चुके हैं 3.2 ओवर पे। कमिंस दोबारा आएंगे, गेंद करेंगे नीशम को। आए गेंद की वाइड बॉल और एक्स्ट्रा का रन्स मिला है न्यूजीलैंड को। इस एक रन के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 169। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हुए हैं। 17.2 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 169 फॉर 3 न्यूजीलैंड। बहुत शानदार बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की तरफ से। बहुत अच्छा स्टार्ट लिया है न्यूजीलैंड ने इस वर्ल्ड कप में। आएंगे पैट कमिंस, गेंद करेंगे जिमी नीशम को। आए गेंद की, इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 170, 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। 17.3 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। 170 स्कोर हो चुके हैं और न्यूजीलैंड के 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हुए हैं। जो करंट रन रेट है वो 9.71 का है। कमिंस अब 18वीं ओवर की चौथी गेंद करेंगे। सामना करेंगे कॉनवे। कॉनवे इस वक्त 80 के स्कोर पे खेल रहे हैं। 52 गेंदों का सामना किया है। आए गेंद की कमिंस ने, सामना कर रहे हैं कॉनवे। वाइड बॉल, एक और वाइड बॉल की है कमिंस ने। एक और एक्स्ट्रा रन्स और एक और रन का इजाफा न्यूजीलैंड के स्कोर में 171, 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। ये वही पिछला जो वर्ल्ड कप 2021 में हुआ था। न्यूजीलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया ये दोनों फाइनल में मद्दे मुकाबल थे, जो कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने न्यूजीलैंड को आसानी के साथ वो मैच ऑस्ट्रेलिया जीत गया था। दोबारा मद्दे मुकाबल है वर्ल्ड कप 2022 के मैच में। अगली गेंद आई, गेंद की, और इस गेंद पे एक स्कोर मिलेगा। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 172, 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 17.4 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। सामना अब करेंगे नीशम। बॉलर हैं कमिंस। कमिंस गेंद करेंगे नीशम को। नीशम 9 रन स्कोर कर चुके हैं 4 गेंदों पे, जिसमें एक शानदार छक्का भी शामिल है। नीशम लेफ्ट हैंडेड बैट्समैन हैं न्यूजीलैंड के और जारहाना बैटिंग करते हैं। अच्छे ऑलराउंडर हैं। पैट कमिंस आएंगे, गेंद करेंगे नीशम को। आए पैट कमिंस, गेंद की, और इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिल सकेगा। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर कंफर्म कर रहे हैं। 2 मिसफील्ड हुई, 2 स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ। 174 रन हो चुके हैं 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। सिर्फ 13 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। सिर्फ 13 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। 174 रन न्यूजीलैंड कर चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हुए हैं। कमिंस आए, गेंद करेंगे नीशम को। कमिंस आए, गेंद की, गेंद हवा के अंदर, लेकिन 2 स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ। 2 स्कोर मिले न्यूजीलैंड को। इस 2 स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर हुआ है 176। 176 for 3, 176 for 3 after 18 overs. The current run rate is 9.78. Devon Conway is batting on 81. He played just 53 balls. His strike rate is 153. 153. The other batsman is Jimmy Neesham, who is batting on 13. He played 6 balls with 217 with strike rate of 217. New Zealand is on 176 for 3 after 18 overs. The current run rate is 9.78. कमिंस ने 4 ओवर किए हैं। 4 ओवर में 46 रन दिए हैं। मिचेल स्टार्क अब अपना आखिरी ओवर करने के लिए आएंगे। पहली गेंद पे एक स्कोर मिल सकेगा। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 177 हो चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हुए हैं। अब सामना करेंगे नीशम, सामना करेंगे। बॉलर हैं स्टार्क ऑस्ट्रेलिया के जो मेन बॉलर हैं, स्ट्राइकिंग बॉलर। इस ओवर की दूसरी गेंद करेंगे। सिर्फ 11 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। स्टार्क आए, गेंद की नीशम को, और इस गेंद पे भी एक ही स्कोर मिल सकेगा। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 178। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हो चुके हैं। 178 स्कोर है। 18.2 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। नीशम स्टार का बॉल करेंगे कॉनवे को। आई गेंद की और इस 2 रन का इजाफा हुआ। इस 2 रन के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 180। 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 18.3 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। जो सिर्फ 9 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। 180 स्कोर न्यूजीलैंड का। देखते हैं 9 गेंदों पे क्या न्यूजीलैंड 20 स्कोर करने में कामयाब होता है कि नहीं। अगर न्यूजीलैंड 20 स्कोर कर लेता है तो न्यूजीलैंड 200 का हिस्सा मुकम्मल कर पाएगा। सामना करेंगे कॉनवे, बॉलर हैं स्टार्क। एक स्कोर मिला है इस गेंद पे। 19वीं ओवर की चौथी गेंद थी। एक स्कोर मिला। 181 स्कोर हो चुका है 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। तीन खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे 181 स्कोर है न्यूजीलैंड का। 18.4 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। नीशम अब सामना करेंगे स्टार्क का। स्टार्क 5वीं गेंद करेंगे इस ओवर की। इस गेंद पे भी एक ही स्कोर मिल सका न्यूजीलैंड को। इस एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ 182 स्कोर हो चुका है न्यूजीलैंड का। 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे बहुत ही शानदार बॉलिंग मिचेल स्टार्क की तरफ से। बड़ी ही लाइन और लेंथ के साथ बॉलिंग कर रहे हैं। बिल्कुल भी गैप नहीं दे रहे, बिल्कुल भी लूज बॉल नहीं कर रहे, जिसपे बैट्समैन खुल के शॉट खेल सके। 5 गेंदों पे सिर्फ 6 रन दिए हैं स्टार्क ने इस ओवर में। आखिरी गेंद करेंगे, सामना करेंगे कॉनवे, और 182 स्कोर हो चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हुए। गेंद की और 4 रन के लिए खेल दी है कॉनवे ने। शानदार शॉट कॉनवे की तरफ से। न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 186 हो चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी न्यूजीलैंड के आउट हुए हैं। 19 ओवर का खेल हो चुका है। सिर्फ 6 गेंदें बाकी हैं। सिर्फ 6 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। न्यूजीलैंड 186 स्कोर कर चुका है। 186 स्कोर पे न्यूजीलैंड के 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। 19 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। बड़ी शानदार बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की जानब से इस एक ओवर में। अब देखते हैं न्यूजीलैंड कितने स्कोर कर पाता है। अगर न्यूजीलैंड 14 स्कोर करता है तो न्यूजीलैंड 200 स्कोर करने में कामयाब हो जाएगा। लेकिन इस 200 स्कोर करने के लिए न्यूजीलैंड को अच्छी बैटिंग करनी होगी। हैजलवुड होंगे बॉलर, जो कि अपना आखिरी ओवर करेंगे और सामना करेंगे नीशम। नीशम को यहाँ पे रिस्क लेना होगा। यहाँ पे आखिरी ओवर में 6 गेंदें सिर्फ हैं। पहली गेंद की बहुत अच्छी गेंद, हैजलवुड की बहुत शानदार बॉल, डॉट बॉल। किसी स्कोर का इजाफा नहीं हुआ। किसी स्कोर का इजाफा नहीं हुआ। एक 186 स्कोर हो चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। सामना करेंगे नीशम, बॉलर है हैजलवुड। इस ओवर सिर्फ 5 गेंदें बाकी हैं खेल की। हैजलवुड आए गेंद की। इस गेंद पे 2 स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ। इस 2 स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ 188 स्कोर है न्यूजीलैंड का। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हैं। 188 फॉर 3 आफ्टर 19.2 overs. The current run rate is 9.72. सिर्फ 4 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। नीशम खेल रहे हैं 17 के स्कोर पे। 10 गेंदों का सामना किया है। हैजलवुड हैं बाउलर, गेंद करेंगे नीशम को। आए गेंद की। नीशम ने शॉट खेली है, गेंद हवा के अंदर, और लेकिन एक ही स्कोर मिल सकेगा। इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिल सकेगा और एक स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ 189 फॉर 3। 189 फॉर 3 आफ्टर 19.3 overs. सिर्फ 3 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। सिर्फ 3 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। 9.69 की करंट रन रेट है। हैजलवुड गेंद करेंगे, सामना करेंगे कॉनवे। कॉनवे 89 रन पे खेल रहे हैं। क्या कॉनवे अपना सेंचुरी मुकम्मल कर सकेंगे? 3 गेंदें हैं। आए गेंद की। कॉनवे ने शॉट के लिए। इस गेंद पे 2 स्कोर मिलेंगे। इस 2 स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 3 स्कोर हासिल किए हैं। इस गेंद पे 3 स्कोर के इजाफे के साथ न्यूजीलैंड का स्कोर 192। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हुए हैं। सिर्फ 2 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। क्या इस 2 गेंदों पे 8 स्कोर न्यूजीलैंड कर पाएगा? अगर करता है तो 200 का हिस्सा अबूर हो जाएगा। नीशम सामना करेंगे जोश हैजलवुड का। जोश हैजलवुड अपने आखिरी ओवर की, ये 20वां ओवर है, 20वीं ओवर की 5वीं गेंद करेंगे। सिर्फ 2 गेंदों का खेल बाकी है। 192 रन्स कर चुका है न्यूजीलैंड 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। आए गेंद की और इस गेंद पे एक ही स्कोर मिलेगा। बहुत अच्छी बॉलिंग हैजलवुड की तरफ से। बिल्कुल भी 2 स्कोर का इजाफा हुआ। बिल्कुल भी मौका नहीं दे रहे बैट्समैन को कि क्या वो लंबी शॉट खेल सके, वो बाउंड्री से बाहर फेंक सके गेंद को। 194 स्कोर हो चुका है। 3 खिलाड़ी आउट हुए हैं न्यूजीलैंड के। 19.5 ओवर का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है। सिर्फ एक गेंद बाकी है इस पहली इनिंग्स की। न्यूजीलैंड की इनिंग्स की एक गेंद बाकी है। आखिरी गेंद करेंगे जोश हैजलवुड, सामना करेंगे जिमी नीशम जो कि 20 पे खेल रहे हैं। 194 स्कोर है। आखिरी गेंद करेंगे नीशम को। आए गेंद की। शॉट खेली है नीशम ने और 6 रन के लिए नीशम ने शॉट खेल दी है। इस 6 रन के साथ न्यूजीलैंड ने 200 स्कोर मुकम्मल कर लिया है 20 ओवर्स में। 20 ओवर्स में न्यूजीलैंड ने 200 स्कोर किया है 3 खिलाड़ियों के आउट होने पे। बहुत ही शानदार बैटिंग न्यूजीलैंड की जानब से। बहुत अच्छी बैटिंग की है न्यूजीलैंड ने इस पहले मैच में। ऑस्ट्रेलिया के खिलाफ 200 स्कोर मुकम्मल कर लिया है न्यूजीलैंड ने।
Conway's been there for the whole innings.
42-run partnership. Last ball of the New Zealand innings, which has been magnificent. Hazel to Neesham. Hits it high. Hits it far. Hits it for 6. What a way to finish. They get over 200. Neesham, 26 off 13. Not a bad little cameo. Conway, 92 off 58. And New Zealand will finish. Well, they've got 3 for 200, but that should be 202, should it not? Oh, no, they're 194. Takes them to 200. I should have listened to myself.
Mr. Moore, I was just about to give you a rap for calling it.
Oh, that's not a mass broadcast. 3 for 200, 14 off the last over, and what a way for New Zealand to finish it. What a way for them to start this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, after being put into bat by Aaron Finch and Finn Allen started the fireworks, Devon Conway, what a knock that was. Really holding the innings together. And then we spoke about the fireworks and firepower that Jimmy Neesham possesses as he walked to the crease, and didn't he deliver? 190 strike rate, he blew that out of the water.
So going through the card, 3 for 200 New Zealand after being sent into bat by the Australian captain Aaron Finch. Now, Finn Allen was bowled by Josh Hazlewood for 42 on 16 deliveries with 5 fours and 3 sixes. In the fifth over, it was 1 for 56. He was dropped at short fine leg, Chris Green's favourite fielding position, by Adam Zampa when he was 19. Then a 69-run stand between Kane Williamson and Conway before Williamson was LBW to Adam Zampa for 23 off 23 deliveries with 1 4 and 1 6 in the 14th over, 2 for 125. Glenn Phillips came and went, was caught and bowled by Josh Hazlewood for 12 off 10 deliveries with 2 boundaries. It was 3 for 152. Devon Conway finishes 92 not out of 58 deliveries, so he's only faced less than half of the balls bowled in the innings. 92 not out of 58, 7 fours and 2 sixes, a strike rate of more than 158.5. James Neesham, talk about a nice cameo at the back end. 26 not out, 13 deliveries, no fours, 2 sixes. There were 5 extras, all of them wides. New Zealand 3 for 200. Mitchell Starc 4 overs, none for 36. So his last 8 overs against New Zealand in T20 World Cup games, 8 overs for 96. That ain't good. Josh Hazlewood 4 overs, 2 for 41. Who said this wasn't a match broadcast? Pat Cummins 4 overs for 46. Marcus Stoinis 4 overs for 38, and Adam Zampa 4 overs, 1 for 39. But even though he was gone for over 10 and over, I thought Hazlewood was the pick of the bowlers. What about you?
No, definitely the pick of the bowlers. And, you know, pre-air, there was a lot of chat from all of us about, we were uncertain about how this wicket would play. First match on it. Typically, it can be conducive to some lower scores here, particularly in the Big Bash last season. But props have to go to the curators. It looks like a beautiful wicket. The way that the New Zealanders played from the get-go was brilliant, and it looked like it came on. There wasn't much spin on offer. The slower balls weren't holding too much, and it's going to be an exciting run chase, and I expect Aaron Finch and David Warner to try and capitalise on that power play, as will Mitchell Marsh, particularly the way he's been targeting it, batting at 3.
And the Australians, they couldn't run down 208 a week and a bit ago against England in Perth, and then in Canberra Wednesday week ago, they were set a pretty challenging target there by England in that second of the T20s. The target was 179. They couldn't get that done, and then they were heading for certain defeat in a washed-out Game 3. So they may not be playing with the confidence that you'd normally expect from a defending champion that's hosting.
Yeah, and it's not an easy feat. Anytime a team scores 200 or 200 plus in T20 cricket, you know, you're asking 10 and over. So, you know, a good over here or there from New Zealand, it goes for 5, 6 wickets. It starts pushing that rate up. And, you know, in the modern game, we're sort of comfortable when the rate's floating around 12s, 13s, particularly with the firepower and the depth that Australia have. But if New Zealand can push that up early to 14, 15 and over, then it's going to be a very tough ask. Doesn't matter how good this wicket is. Doesn't matter how short that one boundary is as well.
Tony from Park says, great call tonight, Andrew and team. Surely tonight New Zealand can't lose. Ooh, don't say that yet. It's a big score in Australia, looking as bad as their warm-up games. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, it's going to be a real challenge for the Australians. Finch and Maxwell are out of runs at the moment, so can they get it together on this stage? They've certainly done it in the past. 201 the target after New Zealand amassed 3 for 200 with Devon Conway 92 not out, 58 deliveries, 7 fours and 2 sixes. James Neesham at the end, 26 not out of 13 balls. Greenie, we'll go and have our second course, or our second serving of the first course. Get some more pastries. The big target coming up here for Australia at the SCG, 201 to win. You'll hear the opening stages of that with Matt Clinch and Stewie Clark. Right now, though, let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
This is ABC News with David Rowlands. The Prime Minister says an extra 150 Defence Force personnel are on standby to assist with floods in New South Wales. Anthony Albanese says 3 helicopters will also be on standby to help with nighttime search and rescue. Mr Albanese is urging people in flood-affected regions to listen to the advice from emergency services. Residents of Kerrang in northern Victoria are once again being urged to evacuate, with flooding on the Loddon River now not expected to peak until tomorrow. The town is largely isolated by floodwaters, but authorities say there are 2 evacuation routes open to Swan Hill. Residents are being asked to move outside of the flood zone immediately, as evacuation routes may be closed with little warning. Meantime, southeast Queensland is bracing for heavy rainfall and flash flooding, with falls expected to worsen overnight. Brisbane and nearby Redland City Council have asked residents to prepare for significant rainfall. Further north, the Gympie, Noosa and Fraser Coast Councils warning residents to secure their belongings and stay off the roads. The North Burnett Regional Council is urging locals in Biggenden and Darlanelle to prepare to evacuate if conditions worsen. The Bureau of Meteorology's Peter Claassen says the system is expected to deteriorate this evening.
There's a risk of widespread heavy rainfall, so looking at 24-hour totals in the 100 to 150 millimetre range for Brisbane in the next 24 to 36 hours or so, with isolated falls as high as 300 millimetres possible.
This is ABC News.
On the ABC Listen app, you can select your own news stream and listen to up-to-the-minute news that matters to you whenever you want. Select world news,
Russia's invasion of Ukraine,
or local news,
Stability Royal Commission,
or both. Choose to get Triple J news, finance, and the news from the state, territory, or regions that you want to hear about. Stream all the sports or no sports. It's totally up to you. Choose the news that matters to you on the ABC Listen app.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
Everything changes once you start playing basketball again, because that's where the narrative shifts. I just think they really can't get rid of him. He loves cricket too much.
There's kind of two classes of sport here, and netball is not in the top one.
We got better shoes that we're wearing. You get better conditions in races sometimes. And the 2-hour marathon's going to go.
It's a daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
Hi, I'm Aaron Finch.
The T20 Cricket World Cup.
ABC Sport, your home of cricket.
And it's great to have your company from the SCG, Australia and New Zealand, in which the Aussies will need 201 for victory in their first match of the T20 World Cup. Great to have your company, Matt Clinch, alongside former Australian fast bowler Stuart Clark. We're touching on, Clarkie, the fact that New Zealand haven't beaten Australia in Australia since 2011. Well, that's one way to make a start in a World Cup. The electrics, the fireworks from Finn Allen at the top of the order, 42 from 16 deliveries. Devon Conway, 92 from 58 deliveries. The anchor throughout the innings with good support from Kane Williamson, 23 from 27. Glenn Phillips, 12 from 10. And Jimmy Neesham coming in at the end, 26 from 13 deliveries. Gets New Zealand to 3 for 200 from their 20 overs. 200!
What an amazing first innings that was by New Zealand, and they've got all the momentum as they head out onto the field at the moment. The lights are shining, the natural light has gone away, Sydney's in darkness, and the New Zealanders, well, they make their way out with a big job for the Australians. You can see Davey Warner and Aaron Finch stride out to the middle. Aaron Finch does his little lean before the rope, as he's done all his career. He moves out into the middle, gets ready for what will be hopefully for the Australian supporters, an amazing run chase. They're going to need to bat well. They're going to need to get off to a flying start, hit the ball to all parts of the boundary and really take charge of this 6-over power play. If they can do that, they then set the game up for the likes of Stoinis and David and co to come in and bludgeon the ball to all parts later on.
Don't forget the second match for tonight. Today, if you're listening in the UK, it's approaching 10 a.m. there. Will be from Perth between England and Afghanistan, straight after this one. So if you're listening to us on ABC Sport Digital across Australia or via the ABC Listen app or, of course, on the BBC, we'll take you there at the conclusion of this match. But, of course, a lot of focus on Aaron Finch, having made his retirement as the captain of the one-day international side for Australia. He comes into this T20 tournament with scores of 76 in the warm-up match against India, 113 against England in the second T20 match. Didn't get a run in the third, 12 against England in the first and 15 against the West Indies. So in his 101st T20 international, 3,013 runs, a highest score of 172 with an average of 33, a strike rate of 144, 2 centuries and 18 half-centuries for the Australian captain, who'll be keen to strike on the right note.
And Boult's going to take the new pill from down at the Randwick end of the ground. You've got 2 slips, plenty of catching men there, because we know he can shape the ball away from the left-hander. He'll be looking forward to get Aaron Finch on strike. He's had all sorts of success against Aaron Finch, trapping him in front. That front pad gets in the way. Trent Boult, he'll know what he needs to do. Can he execute his skills as the New Zealanders get ready to take on the Aussies?
Trent Boult has dismissed Aaron Finch 8 times in international cricket, more than any other player. So there's 2 slips in place for Trent Boult. He's ready to start the Australian batting innings, needing 201 for victory. Boult at the top of his mark. Comes in over the wicket, bowling to the left-handed Warner. He leans forward, pushes it out. Forward a point, some great fielding, prevents the single.
It was Allen.
It was, diving to his left.
Good early on. Point. Always a good early on player in the field and with the bat. Big Superman dive there to field one backward point.
Just got it with his fingertips to prevent the single to open the innings for Australia.
He does like the first 6 overs, Allen. It's where he shines.
42 from 16 deliveries. As Boult comes in to Warner, who's looking to play outside of off stump.
Just the delivery he's looking for from the left-hander, just going away, pitching a little bit through the air, a little bit off the seam. Perfect seam position. What a swing, David Warner, no feet, just fending at it with his hands, lucky not to nick it.
So 2 slips at the moment. Neesham at first slip, Southee at second, Sodhi coming up from deep third. They've got Ferguson down at fine leg. Sodhi hasn't come up, has now been sent back down again.
I thought he was going into gully.
As Trent Boult comes charging into the left-handed Warner, who's forward but playing straight to cover point. And Neesham does the fielding.
And this is what happens if you don't get a couple away early. We saw with New Zealand, they got a couple away early on and bang, they were flying. No runs thus far from the first 3 deliveries. Warner's picked out the third, played and missed. Just feels slowly but surely. More pressure, more pressure.
3 dot balls to start with. Of course, New Zealand were 14 off the first over. Finn Allen with some sort of statement against Mitchell Starc. We're not here to make up the numbers. We're here to make a statement. Trent Boult right on the money. Start this New Zealand innings. Comes in and bowls to David Warner, who's edging and just wide of Neesham at first slip. Lunging to his left, couldn't get a hand to it.
Well, they've just changed the field. They dropped the man out to deep point. They brought third man up. They bolstered the gully type area. And it went right where second slip was. It was just a beautiful ball, pitched about middle, moving away. Warner, no feet, gets caught on the crease, nicks it. Would have gone right into the hands of second slip. Low down, would have been a simple catch. They're the breaks in this sort of form of the game that if you...
Just wide of Neesham at first slip, but couldn't get his fingertips to it, and Boult charge again. Warner's been, I think, distracted by the spider cam and decided to back out. And Trent Boult will have to head to the top of his mark once more. From the Randwick end here at the SCG. It was touted as a sellout. See some spare seats, Stewie, so that's a bit disappointing.
I don't think it's a sellout. I think that's it.
Boult comes into Warner, a full delivery, works it off his pads through to mid-wicket. Quickly through for the single to move to 5. Australia none for 5 in the first over. Chasing 201 for victory.
So there is, there's a good crowd in. I'm going to say it's around about the 30,000 mark. I think that seems to be... about what it looks like. There's not a lot of corporate stuff. Corporate suites look a bit sparse through under the Bronx stand there and in the top of the Bill O'Reilly stand. I was going to call it the Pat Hill stand. It was about 20 years ago. I was called that.
Showing your age there.
People look at me, who? Pat who?
Although you speak to someone from outside of New South Wales, so you'd almost probably get away from it.
But yeah, it's certainly not a very young audience.
1 ball for Aaron Finch to face. Boult wide outside the off stump, swinging back in. And Finch plays and misses, looking to work it through the offside. The end of the first over, Australia none for 5 with Warner on 5 and Finch yet to score.
Finch has got that look in his eyes. He's going to take the bowling on. Doesn't matter who dishes it up, whether it be Trent Boult, whether it be Tim Southee. He looks as though he's just going to take it on. Seeing some replays here of Aaron Finch and that front pad, that issue he's got with it. He sort of plants it. If the ball swings back, his pad's in the wrong spot. It's almost in the way of the bat coming through. So he'll be looking to get that front left leg out of the way and then try and clear his front leg to hit the ball away down the ground.
So Tim Southee to pick up proceedings from the Paddington end of the SCG. Boult and Southee, such regular contributors for New Zealand, and they'd love to get an early breakthrough here. What will be running through the mind of Aaron Finch? You've spoken about the psychological side of it, that when you're an opening batter, you're going to get out at some stage.
I think I'm hoping for Aaron Finch's sake, he just clears his mind and says, you know what, it's almost his last hurrah, isn't it? Doesn't matter what really happens, whether you get runs, whether you don't get runs. It's your last hurrah. Get out there and have some fun. I think if he takes that sort of mindset into the game, well, there's everything. He's got every chance of being successful. We've got an issue down here at the members' end. People standing next to the black sight screen.
So that's just allowing for everyone to turn and ask them just to have their seat. As Tim Southee is ready to come into the attack. Bowling to David Warner. Back of the length and he's bowled. Warner fully through his stroke as it cannons into the stumps. New Zealand have the breakthrough and David Warner is out. 1 for 5.
David Warner trying to heave it away over square leg. Didn't look like it bounced. He was early on the shot. It just way through the ball. We're getting a replay now. And it just, oh my goodness gracious me. That is a dismissal of unluckiness. So he's hit it onto his pad, which has then hit his thigh pad, and on his follow-through, it's hit his bat and gone back onto the stumps.
Unbelievable.
You can watch, he couldn't do that again if he tried. But, unfortunately, that's the game. Australians lose their first wicket. David Warner, 5 off 6. Australians 1 for 5.
And as we see a look on the monitor as he makes his way off, he is shaking his head and he's got almost a grin of disbelief. You've got to be kidding me. Off the pad, onto the back of the bat, onto the stumps. He was standing in front of his stumps as we saw it from the Paddington end. So it was hard to pick up the deflection that had taken place, but Tim's smiling.
They're one of the ones you take your pads off and you go, I was a tad unlucky today.
How'd you get out, love? Well, you're not going to believe this story.
Yeah.
I managed to get it off my body, onto the back of my bat, onto my stumps.
No, you didn't. I don't know. I promise you that's how I got out.
So it brings out Mitch Marsh, Australia's number 3, the 31-year-old right-handed bat. In his 43rd T20 International, a highest score of 77. Of course, the hero of the T20 World Cup campaign in the UAE. So he's coming to the wicket a little bit earlier than he would have liked to have. And New Zealand having got the breakthrough through Tim Southee. Southee comes in over the wicket to Marsh, who's leaning forward and playing it down to mid-on where Lockie Ferguson does the fielding.
Both the two opening bowlers for New Zealand are good users of the new ball. What I mean when I say that is they both swing the ball, genuine swing through the air. Neither of them are great off the seam, but just puts that doubt in batters' minds that is this one going to swing? And if we saw the Australians that game in Canberra, when the ball swung, they looked all at sea.
Southee comes charging in over the wicket to Marsh, who opens up the blade, just trying to work it back on a point. Bit of a mismatch between the two batters as Marsh was in two minds and Finch called him through. There was comfortably a single on offer as it was just wide of the fielder. Marsh is off the mark, 1 for 6 in the second over. Australia chasing 201 for victory.
Another good piece of bowling there by Southee. Squared up Mitchell Marsh, looking to work that ball almost through the onside and leading edged it through backward point, and that mix-up was there. I feel far more comfortable with Aaron Finch facing the outswing as opposed to the inswing.
Couple of taps of the bat as Finch awaits Southee. Hit on the pad, going down the leg side.
A little inside edge on it as well, but certainly umpire Damascena not moved, and really a loud appeal. It was a stifled appeal. Look at that seam position by Tim Southee again. Yeah, going down. Looked a bit late on that Aaron Finch.
And that's going to be the question, isn't it? Just his reaction speeds.
Yeah, can he's searching for the ball still, and that just comes when you're out of form.
35-year-old Australian captain awaiting Tim Southee. Down the wicket he comes, hits it hard but straight to mid-off. Where Kane Williamson does the fielding. 1 for 6 in the second over.
I saw some highlights of his 160 or 70 whatever. I remember in England at the Rose Bowl there, probably 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
What an amazing innings that was. And you look at him, and age catches up with everyone. And I'm not judging Aaron Finch. He's been a wonderful servant of the game, but just looks a fraction slow.
Given he's been such a power hitter throughout his career as well, when the reactions are just that little bit off. Southee back of a length into Finch. He's able to work it through the vacant mid-wicket region through for a single. As Ferguson comes up from mid-on to do the fielding. So after 2 overs, Australia 1 for 7, chasing 201 for victory. The run rate is already just under 11 and over after New Zealand started so well through the power play, scoring 1 for 65. Matt Clinch and Stuart Clark with you.
And here comes the big test for Aaron Finch. Trent Boult's going to bowl another over. The New Zealanders, they have a very different philosophy than the Australians. They like to go with their two premier fast bowlers up front, get the ball to swing while it can, and then they go to their variations throughout the course of the innings. Very dangerous over this. If Aaron Finch can get through this over, you sort of feel he can really get onto the other guys, but just has so much trouble with Trent Boult.
Trent Boult comes in to Finch, who hits high and long over mid-wicket into the crowd, up to the second tier.
That's gone into Fox Studios next door, I think. Went through the gap, out the back door there.
Up to the second level of the O'Reilly stand. Aaron Finch says, let's resume this rivalry. I want to play off the front foot.
He was way down the wicket. He wasn't going to let the ball swing there. He got down the wicket and went bang.
Able to just sit back and watch it sail into the crowd.
And I think that's a better method for Aaron Finch. Don't give the ball a chance to swing. Trent Boult's not bowling, and even when he's quicker ball, it's not really going to trouble a player of Aaron Finch's calibre.
Finch to 7 from 5 deliveries and just distracted, I think. Is that Spider Cam or?
No, the man was moving out of deep backwards. So they've got no one deep on the offside. Can't be surprised if he comes down the wicket every ball here and just tries to take on Trent Boult. He said it in the press conference leading in. They're not going to mess around with this bloke anymore.
2 in the deeper at fine leg and deep mid-wicket. But the way Finch hit that first one, they won't matter. Awaiting Boult here. He drives straight back past the bowler. Beautifully hit. And time down the ground. The chase is on and just unable to get there, Santner. As it just slowed up in front of the rope. 10 off the first 2 deliveries from Aaron Finch. He's 11. Australia are 1 for 17 in the third over.
Yeah, too full there. Boult trying to get the ball to swing back into Aaron Finch, trap him in front, full toss. Aaron Finch punched it back down the ground.
So 5 off the first over. Australia finding a way to respond here as Finch awaits Boult. Back of a length, he's looking to push it just out backward a point. That's fielded by Glenn Phillips. And a dot ball. Finch 11 from 7 deliveries. Marsh 1 from 2. Australia 1 for 17 in the third over after David Warner was out for 5 from 6 deliveries. An unlucky ricochet off the body onto the back of the bat and collecting his stumps.
Certainly unlucky. Sense that Aaron Finch is not going to sit still here. He's going to come running down the wicket again, any ball.
He's awaiting Boult here over the wicket, wide outside the off stump, and Finch trying to push it into the gap in the covers, but Phillips is able to do the fielding.
Such a powerful man, Aaron Finch. 2 men out on the leg side, any width. Aaron Finch is going to flay to open up his shoulders and just try and hit it away over the top of the offside. Another change in the field. There's fine legs coming up and deep mid-wickets going back. He probably needs to go back over, up the seating ramp and into where that little gap is over there to, if he's going to catch the last one.
Next delivery comes in from Boult. Finch beautifully runs it just wide of the fielder at short third. They turn and come back for a couple. I think sliding in, Ferguson's able to deny the boundary. So they pick up 2. So we'll just have another look at that as he did charge into the Toblerone rope there.
Yeah, have a look. I think he got it pretty clean.
He was able to slide successfully, which is always a challenge at the start of a World Cup. Ferguson successful on that occasion.
SCG be quite hard underneath. It's not that you've seen the Gabba. I think it's the one that's really sandy.
12 off the over so far. Finch to 13 from 9 deliveries. Awaiting Boult. Full outside the off stump and driven by Finch to extra cover. And a dot ball to close out the over. So Finch 13 from 9 deliveries. Marsh 1 from 2. Australia 1 for 19 after 3 overs on Grandstand Cricket on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, of course via the ABC Listen App, and for our friends through BBC 5 Sports Extra.
Well, that's job 1 done for Aaron Finch. He had to get through the first 2 overs of Trent Boult. Now, he's played a couple of nice shots, got himself going. We're going to see a change for the New Zealanders. I think we're going to see some spin straight into the attack.
So it's going to be Santner who will come into the attack. So the 30-year-old with his left arm orthodox. Having picked up 80 wickets in T20 cricket, his best is 4 for 11. looking to try and just stem the momentum in which Aaron Finch is trying to build for Australia. It's a funny innings for New Zealand. We mentioned Finn Allen, 46 from 16 deliveries, so they scored 50 in the first 3.5 overs and then finished with a real flurry at the end.
Yeah, wickets in hand, good partnerships, and then all of a sudden blokes at the end just, playing with complete freedom. Don't be surprised if Mitchell Marsh takes him downtown over deep long on here.
Santner left arm orthodox around the wicket as leaning forward is Marsh. He defends back down the pitch.
Yeah, you get the feeling Mitchell Marsh, he's not going to sit on this for too long. You've got deep long off. There isn't particularly going to be a lot of turn, you wouldn't have thought. Try and clear his front pad and hit it straight over mid-on.
Comes in and bowls to the right-handed Mitch Marsh. Stepping across his line, sweeping backward of square leg, timing it well. Down to the rope for 4.
Nice shot that by Mitchell Marsh. Just walked into the line with the ball, got down on one knee, behind square leg. 2 fielders there, but he managed to hit it quite nicely away from the man closest to the umpire. Nice looking cricket shot, that.
Mitchell Marsh, 5 from 4 deliveries. Australia 1 for 23 in the 4th over. And your answer as to how long he'd wait? Well, 2 balls was the answer. The patience game for Mitch Santner didn't last long. Santner this time a quicker delivery and an inside edge onto the pad. As it trickles out onto the offside. Australia 1 for 23 in the 4th over.
He's not a noted player of spin. He likes the fast bowling, does Mitchell Marsh. I think he's come into the attack because Mitchell Marsh probably not as noted playing spin as he has against the quicker bowlers. Changing the field, deep backward squares, gone out onto the fence and deep long on. I imagine this will be fairly straight, this delivery.
Santner with his left arm orthodox. Around the wicket, bowls to Marsh, hitting high over the top of extra cover. That's a long way back. 6.
That's a massive hit by Mitchell Marsh. Not great bowling, that. Mitchell Marsh, all the fielders on the offside are up. Mitchell Marsh, he just lobbed it up on a length outside off stump. Mitchell Marsh said, "Thank you very much," and just plundered it into the top, or into the top deck or the upper deck there of the Bill O'Reilly stand. I would have thought he would have speared, with the 2 men out on the onside, I would have thought he would have speared it in at the stumps, but he went with a different option, paid the price.
96 metres, that's 6 over cover. And Mitchell Marsh is 11 from 6 deliveries, a 4 and a 6. Australia 1 for 29 in the 4th over.
They don't have to wipe the ball anymore, I noticed. That's all gone too. Remember they used to get the crowd, that's all gone.
Yep, the pandemic, of course, through COVID. Santner into Marsh, short once more. Marsh is able to just turn it off his pad. Just forward of square leg through for a single where the fielders are all back.
I would have thought that's more the delivery that he should have bowled the ball before. Like fired it in at leg stump.
It is an interesting battle though, isn't it? As to whether there is much turn there for the spinners or whether just bowling darts at the start of the innings, especially in the power play.
Yeah, I think there's no point getting carried away. Fire him in nice and quick.
11 off the over so far. Santner around the wicket to Finch, makes room, hits in the air, straight to the fielder. He takes the catch at cover. Kane Williamson couldn't believe it as he took the catch and didn't have to move. And Aaron Finch is out for 13. Caught Williamson from the bowling of Santner. A good over for the Aussies, but it finishes with a wicket. They're 2 for 30 after 4 overs.
He got it good, Aaron Finch. He timed it well. He just picked the man out who was standing on the circle. Kane Williamson, he sort of half dropped it and it landed and hit his chin. And he tucked it in there in that big beard of his, and that was it. He was all over for Aaron Finch. Fortunately, he didn't just get enough elevation. I didn't get enough loft. Probably needed a 9-iron, only hit a 7. Kane Williamson took the catch. Santner's picked up another one. Australia 2 for 30.
We spoke about the battle with Trent Boult. He survived that, looked impressive, looked to attack. Then the last ball, which Santner floated it up and he couldn't help himself, but just didn't time it well enough to clear Kane Williamson.
Just didn't get it up high enough, did he? You could see his intent. His intention was right. It was just missed out, picked the wrong ball or picked the wrong length.
So 2 for 30 Australia, chasing 201 for victory. New Zealand in comparison after 4 overs were none for 56. So they need a partnership here, the Aussies.
And Allen was 46 of that.
That's right. He was still there at that stage. 42 from 16 deliveries.
Conway was standing down the other end thinking, wow, this is interesting. He ended up getting 90, 92.
Well, that's the thing. He was the anchor. Tim Southee now is bowling from the round weekend, and the first delivery to Mitchell Marsh, who's forward and pushing it into the offside. A dot ball to start the fifth over.
And Maxwell's joined Mitchell Marsh out in the middle. It's a replay. He just didn't get enough elevation, and Kane Williamson took a pretty simple catch in the end. But Glenn Maxwell's last 12 months probably haven't been his best in his career, and Australians really need him tonight to stand up and deliver one of the big show innings that he can.
Southee comes in, full delivery to Marsh, who just beautifully flicks it off his pads. Backward of square for 4. A little bit of width, and Mitch Marsh did the rest.
Very nice looking shot, that. Just sort of too straight. Mitchell Marsh just poised, balanced, flicked it away over the man fielding it short, fine leg. It wasn't a horrible, it was a slower ball. Mitchell Marsh picked it nice and early and just flicked it away.
Marsh 16 from 9 deliveries. Australia 2 for 34 in the fifth over. Glenn Maxwell's recent form, 23 against India, 8 against England in the 2 T20s before that, and 1-0 against the West Indies. Southee comes in. Marsh looking to play across the line off an outside edge. It balloons out onto the offside. Well short of Sodhi.
Just looked like it bounced a bit, that delivery for Southee, and Mitchell Marsh looking to work it away through the onside. Probably the bounce did him more than anything else there.
Mitchell Marsh 16 from 10 deliveries. Couple of taps of the bat as he waits. Tim Southee, a slower delivery. Was there a little trickle off the outside edge, or I think it might have been the pad, as Conway comes down the pitch and he's in conversation. You think it was a shout for LB?
Shout for LB.
And too high?
Too high, I reckon. Hit him on the inner thigh guard on the back leg, I reckon. It's too high. They may go upstairs, but too high. I think the consensus, just looking at Kane Williamson's body language and his lip reading, my lip reading skills aren't the best, Finch. I think he said too high, and we'll have a look at it. It sort of hit him on the back thigh of his back leg. We'll get a replay here. Slower ball again. It's a big off-cuttery type ball outside the line as well, but yeah, too high. And probably maybe even outside the line, I would
think
thought.
so, yeah.
Southee was certainly excited.
He was excited, yeah.
It was Curtly Ambrose back in the heyday, that.
So Marsh 16 as he waits. Southee hitting long and high. It's in the air. This should be taken. The fielder's underneath it at deep mid-wicket and takes the catch. Jimmy Neesham was underneath the high ball, was able to hold his nerve, and Mitchell Marsh is out for 16 from 12 deliveries. Australia 3 for 34 in the fifth over.
Yeah, it looked like another slower ball then again from Southee. Just looking at a replay here, yeah, another off-speed type delivery, big off-cutter. Mitchell Marsh trying to go straight down the ground with a little bit of spin that was off the surface from his slower ball type action. Jimmy Neesham actually looked like for a little while there he was all running around in circles, and then all of a sudden, as the ball came down, he was nice and steady and caught it. So good piece of fielding by Jimmy Neesham out there, taking a ball that went well above the grandstand, I would have thought. Do it pretty simply in the end. I was back in the ball there for a few. I'm like, oh, hello, come on.
It did bring back sort of memories of down at Geelong when a couple of the first couple of games of the T20 World Cup were dropped in the last 3 or 4 overs, and you thought, goodness me, the bowlers.
I promise you, there's no worse fielding. You'll ask Greeny when you come. When you drop a catch in front of the crowd, there's no worse fielding in the game. It's the worst. It's like if you could dig a hole and go into it, you would.
So after New Zealand lost 3 wickets from their 20 overs, posting 3 for 200, Australia have lost 3 wickets in the opening 5 overs inside the power play. They're 3 for 34. And I was chatting to Greeny about sort of the cardinal sin of new batters coming to the wicket, and we have 2 of them in Marcus Stoinis, the new batter, making his way out, and Glenn Maxwell. Neither have faced a ball.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that it's very hard to keep the momentum going. We just got new batters at the crease.
Stoinis, of course, 33 years of age. The right-hand bat playing in his 48th T20 International. A highest score of 78, an average of 28, including 150 in his T20 career. But the start was known as a finisher in the one-day internationals. He's going to have to try and provide some sort of platform here for the Australians. And 3 for 34 with 1 ball to come in the fifth over. Southee into Stoinis, who's forward and pushing it to mid-wicket for a dot ball to close out the over. So Australia 3 for 34, chasing 201 for victory. Stoinis and Maxwell yet to get off the mark. After David Warner was out for 5, Aaron Finch for 13, and Mitch Marsh, the last batter, out for 16. Stuart Clark's with you on Grandstand Cricket. Andrew Moore about to join him.
फैन चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दे और वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दे फ्रेंड्स प्लीज फैन जल्दी कर चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दे और वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दे
What about the day New Zealand's having to open their World Cup campaign? Scoring 3 for 200 having been sent in, and now has Australia at 3 for 34 after 5 overs, having not won here in any format in 11 years. As the speed of Lockie Ferguson will come on for the first time from this Paddington end. Stewie, they've done everything right so far. 3 for 34, needing 201 Australia.
Come with good plans, good change-ups, and well ahead in the game now.
Ferguson bowling to Maxwell. It's the first ball he's faced, and he's off the mark immediately, just to the right of mid-on. And it's picked up by Boult. Last over of the power play. 3 for 35 Australia. Maxwell 1, Stoinis yet to score. Dave Warner gone for 5 in the most outrageous bowl you've ever seen. Twice off the bat, once off the body. Aaron Finch 13, Mitchell Marsh 16 on 12 balls, 2 fours and a 6, and he sensed that was the big partnership, Marsh and Maxwell.
Yeah, you certainly did. It was going to be the one. Mind you, the two blokes at the crease, Stoinis we know can be very, very damaging, and Maxwell, well, if he can improve on his stats, we know that once he gets a hold of the game, we've seen it over the years, very, very hard to wrestle the momentum and the match back from him.
Lockie Ferguson, 31 years of age, made his debut in 2017. 22nd game, 32 wickets, an average of 16.12, and an economy rate well under 7. So he's on his way. Bowling now to Stoinis, who's playing this away square on the offside. Beat the backward point. Can't beat the man coming around from cover point. And it's a dot ball after Finn Allen got a hand to it. And he bowled that delivery at a reasonably cracking pace. In fact, I'm hearing all the ready around the ground. People haven't seen a ball bowled at that speed since the Sutherland fourth grade side earlier today with Stewie Clark off the long run.
Oh, yeah. No.
151 cut that one.
It was very, very sharp. This guy bowls genuinely fast.
He's in bowling again to Stoinis, short of a length, and he's rushed to a defensive shot, square on the onside. They rush through for a single, as the fielding is done there ultimately by Mark Chapman. So Stoinis off the Stoinis 1, Maxwell 1, 3 for 36 in the 6th over. Now this is the last over of the power play. At the end of New Zealand's power play, they were 1 for 65. Australia currently 3 for 36.
Slight difference.
Slight difference. You don't see that too often, do you?
No,
Like almost double.
Not with the Australians either.
So now Ferguson, deep third man, deep square leg in place. Maxwell awaits, and he's forward punching it down to mid-on, but can't penetrate the field as it's picked up down on one knee. And it's a dot ball. Southee did the fielding. 3 for 36, 2 balls to come in this 6th over. Only 2 runs off Lockie Ferguson's first.
He gets through the crease nicely, does Lockie Ferguson. Doesn't look like there's a lot in his run. He's not sprinting in, but it's a lot of power at the crease, a lot of shoulder. 147, 151.
7 wickets this year, an average of over 18 and a half, economy rate of just over 6, as Maxwell's getting an outside edge as he tried to punch this away square on the offside. Down to Boult at deep third man. They get another run, and Maxwell moves to 2, 3 for 37, 1 ball to come in the power play.
It's been good for the New Zealanders. They've come up with some really distinct plans. You always notice that with the Australians. They always come up with plans, don't they? Remember Stephen Fleming, he'd have these weird and wonderful type in and out type fielders. For Damien Martin, there'd be 7 gullies and a point, and New Zealand they've always got theories.
And now it's Ferguson, whose main theory is bowl quick. And this one is just that, pushed away square on the offside, but can't get a run as it's fielded there square by Neesham. So what a good over. That was at 147k now from Lockie Ferguson. Only 3 runs from it, 6 overs done in pursuit of 201. The Australians are stuck at 3 for 37. Maxwell 2, Stoinis on 1. And like I say, at the same stage, New Zealand was 1 for 65. Next, we've got England and Afghanistan at Perth Stadium, and if you're in Perth, you'll hear that on ABC local radio. BBC 5 Sport Extra will be taken live as well with Jonathan Agnew. And if you're elsewhere in Australia, just the ABC Listen app, you'll hear every World Cup game. Stewie, they're in trouble, Australia here, with Mitch Santner now coming back onto bowl.
Yeah, they're in trouble. They need a partnership. They need a big partnership from these two. Tim David to come, Matthew Wade to come with Paul Conway. But they need a partnership. They need a large partnership.
फ्रेंड चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दो, वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें.
Scoring at 10 and over to try and get them some momentum. So when those two come in, they can just come out and do what they do naturally.
164 to win off 84 delivery. That's what's facing Australia, and it's Mitch Santner, 1 for 11 from his first over. He was brought into the fourth over of the power play. Did get the wicket of Aaron Finch. He's in bowling here to Maxwell, who plays it along the ground. 2-2 is the call as he gets it between mid-wicket and long on, but then he slips at the non-striker's end. I hope he's okay. He's rolling around down there, Glenn Maxwell. And he's having a chat to the bowler, Mitch Santner. 1 run only, 3 for 38. Maxwell to 3. He did look in pain there as he slipped very awkwardly. And he's grimacing for sure and certain.
Is that a hip drop?
He could have got 3 weeks if he's playing the NRL or AFL.
That's a hip drop. Everything's a hip drop these days. You tackle someone, hip drop.
Don't tell me you've become that cynical, Stewie, as a former leading executive of rugby league.
Glory years.
Now it's Santner bowling to Stoinis. Sweep misses. Missed the bat, missed the pad, missed the stumps, all of which by not much. Taken there by the keeper.
Should have got 3 weeks if he's playing.
फ्रेंड्स 1 मिनट बस, ये थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम है, ये मैं इसे सेट करता हूँ. आपने कहीं छोड़ के नहीं जाना, आप बस जल्दी से चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें और वीडियो को भी लाइक कर दें.
The point, and it's picked up by Phillips. 1 run only. Maxwell 4, 3 for 40 in the 7th over.
Yeah, some power players. Tim David. I know there's too many guys in the game that hit the ball harder than Tim David. Maybe the two standing out there at the moment.
Down to Stoinis, well slided, and he chops it without timing down to short third man, and it's picked up there by Ferguson. No run. Score remains 3 for 40 only. 4 runs off, or make it 3 runs off this over. 1 ball to come. We saw him hit a cover drive 6 in Canberra. It was flat and just at 80,000 kilometres an hour. Santner to Stoinis, again well flighted, driven, diving save at extra cover, but they'll still go through for a run. But inspirational fielding from captain Kane Williamson to end the over. 3 for 41 after 7 overs. Great over by Santner. 4 runs off it. The target 201. Stoinis is 3, Maxwell is 4, and Santner now 2 overs, 1 for 15. And the equation for Australia looking increasingly difficult. 160 to win of 78 deliveries as Stuart Clark makes way to Sydney Thunder skipper Chris Green. Welcome back, Greenie, with New Zealand right on top here as they have been since the start.
Yeah, good to be back. And the Aussies are in a tricky position. We were talking off air about what happens when you lose 3 wickets in the power play. We spoke about this recently in the Caribbean in our batting meetings about the importance to not lose wickets, too many wickets up front. 12.5% they rate your chances on average to win the game if you lose 3 wickets in that power play. So
that's extraordinarily low, isn't it?
Very low. The Aussies do have the long batting lineup. They've got a lot of power to come, but you've seen these two just have to dig in, try and rebuild a little bit, and New Zealand's ploy to bowl a lot of spin now out of the power plays. We see Sodhi introduced.
The leggy turns 30 later this month. He's coming in bowling, and Stoinis is defending that, rushed in on him, and he has to push it back to the bowler. No run. Sodhi took 9 wickets at last year's tournament. Was born in India, moved to New Zealand when he was just a little tot at 4 years of age. 103 wickets in 81 games. Economy rate just over 8 with a best bowling of 4 for 28 against Australia, against whom he has 16 wickets in 10 games. They're short of a length and pulled away by Stoinis between mid-wicket and long on. The fielding is done, moving to his right by Santner, and they come back for a second run as Santner lobs the return back to Devon Conway. So Stoinis 5, 3 for 43 in the 8th over. He's got a really, really good track record, is Sodhi.
He does, and he's not afraid to give the ball a flight. He started flatter, trying to skid it on into the wicket, and he's a great matchup for these two, the leg spinner. Often when we come up against Stoinis and Maxwell, and you see all international teams doing it now, trying to get that leg spinner into the game early to try and create the risk hitting against the spin.
Sodhi to Stoinis, flatter, quicker delivery, and it's played without much timing away to mid-wicket. Fielding done in off the rope by Glenn Phillips just outside the circle. Having more pastries, Stewie. Fair dinkum. So one more run there, and Stoinis 6, 3 for 44 in the 8th over. 3 runs from this over so far. We're in the 8th over. After 8 overs, New Zealand was 1 for 81. Australia's still a long, long way behind. But with Glenn Maxwell, if he rediscovers his touch, that deficit can go pretty quickly, and here he slashes this with force down too long off. And it's fielded on the bounce. Comfortably enough by Tim Southee, just a single. Maxwell 5, 3 for 45 in the 8th inning, 201 to win.
Yeah, and I'd say that run rate at 12.5 is comfortably uncomfortable at the moment. It's probably the best way to put it. We talk about 13, 14, 15 and over starting to get a little bit nervy. The firepower of Australia helps that, but 12.5's comfortably uncomfortable.
Australia looks comfortably numb at the moment. Sodhi bowls, and it's whipped away. Crossbat shot by Stoinis along the ground to Santner at long on. 1 run. Return comes in on the bounce to the keeper, Conway. 7 to Stoinis. 3 for 46, only in singles or twos at the moment for the Australians. 155 to win off 73 deliveries. So long on, deep mid-wicket, deep backward square, deep point and a long off. They're the 5 back. For Sodhi. Bowls now to Maxwell, reverse sweep. The field drops back. The ball bouncing into the gap. 2 bounces over the rope in front of the O'Reilly stand for 4. He plays that with such force. The reverse tonk from Glenn Maxwell. He's 9, and at the end of the over, 3 for 50 is Australia needing 200 to win. 9 off that first over from Sodhi, thanks to that. Oh, I was going to say unconventional. It's not really these days, but it's played as well by Glenn Maxwell as anyone in the world.
Yeah, it's a shot often we so often see from Glenn Maxwell, and this time, often he gets criticised for taking silly risks or too big of a risk. For me, that's a calculated risk. It's the shorter boundary to the leg side, hitting with the spinner Sodhi. If he was to take the uncalculated risk or the big risk at this stage, hitting against the spin to that bigger boundary. So he played it well. The New Zealand fielders try to read it, running in that direction in backward point, and he picks it in front of point to a left-handed cow corner. Much needed boundary after that over a couple of singles.
You'd be loving this, wouldn't you, Chris? There's spin bowlers in tandem. T20 game at Santner to bowl his 3rd over. Into Marsh, to Stoinis. Well flighted, swept and missed again by Stoinis. And not handled by Devon Conway either, but it all amounts to a dot ball. And Australia remains at 3 for 50 at the start of the 9th. On the SMS, 0467 920 222. Great commentary and such good insights from Chris Green. But he should be on the field playing. Here's Santner. Bowling, flatter, quicker delivery. Stoinis goes the aerial route towards deep cover. Fieldsman coming around. What a catch, Glenn Phillips. That's going to take some beating for catch of the World Cup. He had to cover about 25 metres to his right. And at full stretch, he takes it millimetres off the ground. What a catch by Phillips. Stoinis on his way for 7. Australia 4 for 50. This golden night for New Zealand continues. Chris Green, what about that catch in the outfield?
Marcus Stoinis cannot believe it. Glenn Phillips, full stretch, diving effort. 25 metres, I reckon it was about 50. No wonder he hates wicket keeping. That's an unbelievable effort in the outfield and a big, big moment in this match. Just as these two started to get a little bit of momentum back in Australia's favour, trying to take on the spinners. Santner just slowed that one up. Stoinis trying to hit it over cover, got it a little bit too high, and the rest was done by Glenn Phillips. That was a fantastic bit of fielding. We spoke about the fielding of the Aussies in the first innings. Probably not up to par, but that is unbelievable.
That is the catch of a fieldsman who hates keeping, isn't it? That was truly spectacular. So Marcus Stoinis out, caught a deep cover by Phillips, spectacularly so. Mitch Santner gets his 2nd wicket. He has 2 for 15 in his 3rd over. Stoinis 7 off 14 deliveries. And in the 9th over, needing 200 to win, Australia is reeling at 4 for 50. Relying now on the Singapore slinger. Tim David coming in. And Tim David will be at the striker's end. Such was the disbelief they didn't... Oh, it doesn't matter anymore anyway, does it, if you cross or not? But Tim David has a lot of pressure on his young shoulders, the 26-year-old who made his 2020 debut for Singapore against Qatar in 2019. Raised in Western Australia, hit 16 sixes in the IPL for the Mumbai Indians this year. 23rd T20 game, strike rate of 160, and he plays this straight to extra cover, no run, as it hits Williamson rather than the other way around. Score remains 4 for 50, and there's almost a stunned silence in this crowd here, Chris Green.
There is. You can. It's an eerie silence. That I think a little bit because of the catch and a little bit because of the situation. They can sense that Australia are in a little bit of a pickle here.
Santner bowls, and it's cut away by David. Beats the field from a backward point. Phillips scoots to his left, runs 700 metres this time, picks it up, and they come back for a second run. So he's off the mark. David, he has 2, and Australia 4 for 52 in the 9th over.
He's rapid across the turf,
isn't he?
He reminds me of those Energizer Bunny ads. You remember the ones that just go and go and go and you recharge them? That's what he looks like, running across that boundary and taking that catch.
Santner bowls well flighted, and David has kept a little lower than he was anticipating. Plays it backward a square on the onside and will pick up just a run. So Tim David moves to 3, 4 for 53, 1 ball to come in the 9th over. 201 the target. Francis in Cairns says it'll be a Houdini act if Australia can win from here. Yeah, you sit there. The way you describe the position, in a little pickle, is a very optimistic view. Santner bowls, and Maxwell plays this with force along the ground, a long off. And the ball's picked up in the outfield by Chapman. 1 run only again. Maxwell 10, David is 3. Another good over by Mitch Santner. 3 overs, 2 for 19. Australia 4 for 54 after the 9th over. And to give that some perspective, after 9 overs, the New Zealanders were 1 for 90. So that's a 36 runs to the good, 3 wickets to the good. And as Chris mentioned, the stats in T20 cricket are all over the place. If you lose 3 wickets in the first 6 overs, your winning chances are down to just over 12%, which is quite remarkable.
It is a tough ask. I did say little pickle because of the strike rates and the capabilities of Glenn Maxwell, Tim David, Matthew Wade. They have got a very tall order in front of them, and the change has been clear after the wicket of Stoinis there from Santner. I'm interested to see if Sodhi does it, to bowl a lot slower, challenge the big shots.
Sodhi to Maxwell, but just as he got to the crease, Maxwell calls him off. I think Spider Cam may be to blame there. Spider Cam's a pain in the backside. Saw the start of play delayed in Canberra the other day because of a low-flying Spider Cam. Behave yourself up there on the rope. Here comes Sodhi. Now he starts the oval. Reverse sweep by Maxwell, but this time he picks out the fielder on the boundary, just in from the rope. And it's 1 run only as the return gets whipped back into Devon Conway. Maxwell 11, 4 for 55. When he goes into that reverse sweep mode, you see all the players on the offside start to run back towards the boundary, knowing it's heading their way. It's like watching fieldsmen in indoor cricket, trying to react to what a batsman looks like doing.
We're just guessing. Guessing and hoping.
Educated guessing and hoping, if you're out there playing at this level, I would assume.
Of course.
Now it's Sodhi into David, who plays this, can't beat extra cover. Straight to Williamson, dot ball. 4 for 55 in the 10th. Sodhi has bowled 8 balls so far, gone for 10 runs. The halfway point, the Black Caps were 1 for 97. Australia's 4 for 55. Here comes Sodhi, bowls, flatter, quicker delivery with good leg spin. Outside edge by David. It's fielded at short third man. And Trent Boult does the fielding, diving to his left. And it's only 1 run, but he was beaten there, Tim David, by a strong turning delivery from Sodhi. He's 4, and 4 for 56 the score in the 10th over.
Yeah, and it's the more conventional batter of Tim David, Ish Sodhi, slowed up his pace. He's changed his field. He knows he's probably not going to get reverse swept, so he slowed everything down at him.
Sodhi to Maxwell, who's on the drive, wide of long off, but Southee moves to his left, keeps it to a run. Maxwell to a dozen, and Australia 4 for 57 in the 10th over. On the SMS, Australia in a little pickle. Chris is the master of understatement, unlike Maury, says Paul in Wollongong. Paul might be aware of the fact that every now and then I tend to exaggerate in a moment of excitement. Another says 2 words, Steve Smith. It's left down to this team. And Australia in a hole at 4 for 57. Tim David on strike on 4 from 5 delivery. Sodhi in, and it swept a straight delivery down to deep backward square. And only 1 run to be had on this occasion. Chapman does the fielding. So David moves to 5, 4 for 58. 1 ball to come in the 10th over. 201 is the target. After New Zealand sent in 3 for 200. Finn Allen 42, Kane Williamson 23, Glenn Phillips 12, Devon Conway 92 not out, James Neesham 26 not out, Hazlewood 2 for 41, Zampa 1 for 39. Sodhi bowls, launching this to deep cover. Maxwell, 1 bouncing over the rope for 4. He placed it beautifully. Glenn Maxwell gets a much-needed Australian boundary. He's 16, Tim David is 5. And at the halfway mark of the run chase, being 201, Australia is 4 for 62. 8 runs off that over. Ish Sodhi 2 overs for 17. After Dave Warner was bowled Southee for 5, it was 1 for 5. Aaron Finch caught Williamson at cover off Santner for 13. It was 2 for 30 in the 4th. Mitch Marsh caught Neesham at deep mid-wicket off Southee for 16. It was 3 for 34 in the 5th. And then in the 9th over, Stoinis caught Phillips brilliantly at deep cover off Mitch Santner for 7. It was 4 for 50, now 4 for 62 at the halfway mark. Joining Chris Green, Matt Clinch on Grandstand Cricket.
The T20 Cricket World Cup on the ABC Listen app, ABC Sport Digital and BBC 5 Sports Extra.
Thanks, Maury. Hello, Greenie. When you compare, New Zealand had 23 boundaries in their 20 overs. That's just Australia's 7th boundary. And after 10 overs, they're 4 for 62. And as you're touching on, wickets at the start of the power play, all of a sudden the boundaries don't flow as freely. And the run rate is up to just under 14.
And now it is drink break. We will come shortly. चल मैं आ जा तो मैं इधर नहीं मैं बाहर निकला हुआ था कोई काम तो नहीं है कोई प्यार के प्लान की जी जी मैं थोड़ा सा दूर हूँ अच्छा
T20 cricket do struggle against spin, in particular the ball spinning away from right-handed batters. Kane Williamson's lucky enough that he's got Mitch Santner and Ish Sodhi to try and force that risk. Already it's worked with the wicket of Stoinis, albeit a great catch, but it'll be interesting to see what Tim David and Glenn Maxwell do here to Santner to the short side.
2 for 19 for Santner as he comes into David, who's sweeping and pulling wide of the fielder at mid-wicket over the rope for 6. Well, that's the way to start. 4 for 68.
He doesn't die wondering, Tim David. He was slower. It was wider from Santner, just a little carrot. And Tim David said, yes, I'll have a bit of that. Slog sweep to that short boundary. Big start to the over, big start to the second half of this innings for the Aussies.
And a flat shot from David as well. He's 11 from 7 deliveries. Santner, the left arm orthodox, comes in. David goes again. Similar position, just short of the field. And no, lunging forward, a great catch. As a running around in the deep was Jimmy Neesham. He got his fingertips underneath it. And Tim David goes. Caught Neesham from the bowling of Santner, out for 11. And Australia are 5 for 68 in the 11th over.
he'll feel very disappointed with that, but I think I've got to give credit to Mitchell Santner. He remained brave. He bowled slower. He just dragged that length back slightly. There's a little bit of hold in the surface, and Tim David wasn't able to quite connect in the way he wanted to send it deep into that short boundary stand, and he holds out. It's a big wicket after that 10-over mark. Now it's Matt Wade and Glenn Maxwell. One more wicket down, and then they're into the bowlers.
How well has Mitchell Santner bowled? A good battle, as you made mention of. Tim David was thinking, yep, same again. This time, just picked out the fielder. And New Zealand haven't dropped anything. Their fielding has been superb. You touched on the catch from Phillips, the Superman dive. I mean, that's what allows you the chance to get out of the group stages in World Cups and potentially get to the final and maybe a championship.
Catches win matches. It doesn't happen at it doesn't matter what level it is, catches win matches, and that catch isn't easy. It may have looked quite straightforward. Anytime you have to move forward and dive forward in the way that Jimmy Neesham did, and he would have been at deep mid-wicket there thinking that David's rocking back, trying to hit a big shot, holding his ground, and then the miss hit has to then come forward late. It dips on you late, and it's a big moment in the game as well.
Santner 3 for 25 in his final over. And Matthew Wade makes his way out to the middle. He has become Australia's finisher in T20 internationals, but he's going to have to start finishing from a long way out. Just needs to start by getting through Mitchell Santner's over as he bowls to Wade, who drives, plays it down to long off for a single. Wade's off the mark. Australia 5 for 70 in the 11th over.
And what the left-handed Wade does bring to the crease for Australia, and it was one thing that actually surprised me. I know Tim David has got those power-hitting capabilities, but he is the left-hander. They are going to bowl a lot of spin. If he'd come in perhaps one before David, he could have maybe taken down that short boundary. It would have forced them to bowl someone else, potentially from Sodhi, from this end, and just have to rethink their game plan.
Santner around the wicket to Maxwell. He's going to reverse sweep. He gets a bottom edge. It's good enough to beat the fielder at short third. And some creative stroke making from Glenn Maxwell. Another boundary for the Australians. Maxwell now having to lead the charge. He's 20 from 12 deliveries. Australia 5 for 73 in the 11th over.
One man not rethinking his game plan, Glenn Maxwell. It's been clear that he wants to turn around, play left-handed against the ball spinning away, and he's used it to great success so far. 2 boundaries, one off Sodhi, one off Santner, and a couple of singles as well.
Maxwell awaiting Santner, who just lost as Maxwell just was distracted by something behind the bowler's arm. Some fans close to the side screen, an Australian flag, which might have just caught the eye of Glenn Maxwell. Now Santner's right to go. Maxwell's going to reverse sweep again. This time he hits it off the bottom of the bat, almost pull cues it out to Kane Williamson, who does the fielding.
Yeah, it's probably the first time it hasn't worked for him, and as what we're seeing on the replay, he has got 2 types of reverses.
So there's almost a reverse and a switch hit. This time he stays deep in his crease to Santner, hits it down to long on for a single to close out the over. So after 11 overs, Australia 5 for 74 with Maxwell on 21, Wade on 1. Matt Clinch and Chris Green with you on Grandstand Cricket on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, BBC 5 Sports Extra. Don't forget, if you're in Australia, the ABC Listen app is where you'll hear so many of the upcoming Cricket World Cup matches broadcasted on your smart device, or wherever you listen, just download the ABC Listen app and look for the white cricket ball. 5 for 74 after 11 overs. Santner 3 for 31 from his 4 overs. What a great spell.
Fantastic spell. And on a night where, requiring 10 and over, he's picked up some big wickets, changed the game, and has consistently bowled to right-handers towards the short boundary as well. He bowled in the power play. He picked up that big wicket of Stoinis and David as well. And I think he's bowled fantastically well tonight.
Sodhi continues. Maxwell goes to reverse. Switch hit again. This time doesn't quite time it as it's fielded out at point, as Ferguson does the fielding. So how much of this is premeditated from Glenn Maxwell?
Look, I think almost 99.9% of it. It's a short boundary out to the offside if he's batting conventionally. It's the short boundary if he turns around and reverses or switch hits. So I think he's 100% premeditating.
Sodhi goes to Maxwell. This time he hits it cleanly. The reverse switch hit. Beautiful connection. Straight over the top of extra cover for 6. Right out of the screws. Maxwell 27, Australia 5 for 80.
And that's his plan. You know, he's miscued it twice. Once to Santner dot ball, once at the start of that over. But that's the short side. He wants to hit with the spin. That's how he feels he can best put Sodhi under pressure and try and take him away from his plan, just to put pressure back on New Zealand, give him more opportunities to score boundaries at a lower risk, and then maybe pick one up the other way. So he may look to go 1-2 and go leg side soon.
3 4s and a 6 for Glenn Maxwell, rocking back in his crease to Sodhi and playing out to extra cover where Williamson does the fielding. 5 for 80 in the 12th over. Maxwell 27 from 17 deliveries.
It's a great battle, this. Leg spinner versus Maxwell, looking to spin it around. He's changing his pace, that time going flatter, bringing the stumps and LBW into play if there is any mistiming.
Sodhi in, Maxwell makes space, stepping across onto the onside. You heard the frustration as he couldn't quite get the timing, hitting it back down the pitch, and Sodhi does the fielding. So he's bowling, about 84 kilometres per hour, so just changing his pace up a little bit. Trying to anticipate as to where Maxwell's going to move. He goes to switch hit once more off a bottom edge. Plays it out to deep cover just for a single. Maxwell to 28, 5 for 82. 81, 5 for 81.
Yeah, great adjustment from Sodhi that time. I'm convinced he would have seen him move early then, so he's fired it a little bit further away, effectively down the leg side if Maxwell didn't turn around as a right-handed batter, but wider as a now left-handed batter, making it harder just to generate that power, where he's been able to get the power from outside off as a right-hander.
Now Sodhi into Wade, who rocks back and just punches it through the covers. Off the back foot, able to get out a single to close out the over. He'll hold the strike as well. Wade to 2, Australia 5 for 82 after 12 overs. With Matthew Wade on 2, Glenn Maxwell on 28. Earlier it was David Warner who was out for 5, Aaron Finch for 13, Mitch Marsh for 16, Marcus Stoinis for 7, and Tim David for 11 after New Zealand posted 3 for 200 from their 20 overs, led by Finn Allen at the top of the order, 42 from 16 deliveries. Williamson was out for 23, Phillips for 12, and then the great closing from Devon Conway with 92 from 58 deliveries, including 2 sixes and 7 fours, and Jimmy Neesham also not out on 26. Means that New Zealand are looking to start this tournament on a positive note. Australia, of course, only lost the 1 match, and that was to England in the last World Cup. So normally you can lose 1 match, but no more than that, or your tournament could be done.
And you want to get off on the right foot, get early wins in this tournament, get points in the table in your favour to try and get you through this stage as well. And it's an important start and one that New Zealand are well in front of the game at the moment, and they'll be looking to close out to get their tournament underway.
Lockie Ferguson back on the attack with his right arm fast as he bowls just back of a length, and Wade is up on his toes defending into the offside.
This is a great battle to watch. Matthew Wade doesn't shy away from the contest, and Lockie Ferguson bowls rapid. Facing him in the nets in the IPL in 2020 at KKR, I did it once, and I refused to go back. It was too quick. He bowls so fast.
New Zealand well and truly on top here. We see a ramp or a switch hit from Wade. Of course, he can play the 360 game as well. Awaiting Ferguson, edging and gone. Conway takes the catch behind the stumps, and Wade is out for 2. Australia is 6 for 82 in the 13th over.
Big wicket that for New Zealand, and with it, I have to say Australia's hopes are now slimming to none. With Matthew Wade gone, the finisher in early, great bit of bowling, great bit of captaincy from Kane Williamson. I think the way he's played this innings out from the power play to now, bowling his spinners at Australia's power hitters through the middle, struggling to get the ball away, and then he injects his pace card of Lockie Ferguson, running in, bowling fast. That rate is up at 15 and a half and over. Matthew Wade has to go after it, and Lockie Ferguson is too good.
And New Zealand have bowled so well in their partnerships with Santner, Sodhi, and Ferguson coming in after Boult and Southee at the top of the order. So just the variety and pace and the pressure on Australia in terms of the run rate. They've really got no option now but to have a swing at it and see what happens. And unfortunately for Matthew Wade, it was a short stint at the wicket. So Pat Cummins, the Australian men's test captain and now one-day international captain, makes his way out to the middle with Australia 6 for 82. And, of course, run rate becomes important. So does the mindset change here about trying to see out your 20 overs and see as much as you can get, or...?
It's a tough one. I think you've still got to believe you can win the game, especially with Glenn Maxwell there. Pat Cummins has done some amazing knocks in the IPL as well. I think he equalled the fastest 50 or got, if not got close to it. So he's no slouch with the bat. But, you know, I certainly don't think they can just try and see out the 20 overs because of that negative run rate impact it could have on them. Particularly the way the qualifiers went, we saw that it may cause the shift of who goes through into those final series.
Ferguson is his second over, 1 for 3 as he comes in, bowls to near bat. Pat Cummins, back of a length and through high above the off stump, and Conway takes it behind the stumps.
Fast bowler to fast bowler, starts with a slower bouncer. But, you know, I think there's no fear there and fear factor, and I think it's a smart bit of bowling. Anytime a lower order batsman comes to the crease, just to mess with their feet, and their eye line to go short into the wicket, and then I wouldn't be surprised if he follows up with a full and fast one at the stumps.
Lockie Ferguson charges in, bowls full to Cummins, who whips it away off his pads, forward of square for 4. Good response from Pat Cummins after the slower ball bouncer. Cummins is off the mark with 4. Australia are 6 for 86 in the 13th over.
Yeah, don't worry about messing up the feet. Pat Cummins was up to the task there, swinging away to the leg side, using the pace of Ferguson. It's a tiny boundary, and just clips it up off his pads into that backward square region. And that's the way he plays. He swings away. He can connect with them. He's awkward at times, Pat, the way he swings the bat, but he finds the boundary regularly.
So they've got deep mid-wicket, deep backward square, fine leg as well. There's also a deep cover as well. As Ferguson comes in, bowls to Pat Cummins, who swings and misses. Looking to play across the line. Change of pace there once more from Ferguson.
Very smart bit of bowling. The slower ball bouncer worked. The slower balls were used by the Australians at the back end of that innings. And a stage where you need 16, 15, 16 and over, forcing the lower order batters just to generate the pace. It's not easy when it's inconsistent, especially when you're expecting 150 plus Ks an hour coming down at you.
Didn't miss the top of off by much as well. Ferguson comes in to Cummins, who drags it down through mid-wicket, quickly off for the single, and that will close out the over. So Pat Cummins to 5, Glenn Maxwell's on 28. Australia 6 for 87 after 13 overs. Matt Clinch and Chris Green with you on Grandstand Cricket. So to come, of course, Australia turn their attention. They've got Sri Lanka in Perth as their second match. England at the MCG. Ireland at the Gabba, and Afghanistan at the Adelaide Oval. So when the draw came out, you did think they're going a bit here, there, everywhere as the national side to make sure that they're playing in front of the biggest possible crowds. And New Zealand have got Afghanistan on October 26th, so next weekend.
Yeah, and obviously this game's not over, but New Zealand right in the box seat and pretty much clinched this match. It becomes very important for Australia to get on a little bit of a roll and bounce back from this, whereas New Zealand can, you know, if they can record a win, particularly with Afghanistan less, or going into favourites as Afghanistan against Afghanistan, can go 2 from 2.
Sodhi starts his 4th over, none for 25 as he comes in, bowls to Cummins, who's looking to try and push it down to long off, but Sodhi races around to cut it off. Top ball to start the 14th over. Australia 6 for 87. Cummins a runner ball 5. Glenn Maxwell on 28 at the non-striker's end. Ish Sodhi in with his leg break. Back of a length down the leg side, and he gets away with one there as Cummins fails to make contact. Wide is called. 6 for 88.
I'd love to see Sodhi going for the wrong in there, obviously, but I'd love to see him just take the pace out of it, bowl that slow leg spinner, challenge Cummins to try and hit across the line to that big boundary and pick up the wicket.
Sodhi once more over the wicket. Cummins rocks back and is able to beat the fielder at mid-wicket, through for a single as it's gathered in the deep by Phillips. Australia 6 for 89. Cummins on 6. Bill poses the question on the SMS. Team changes. You wouldn't imagine there'd be too much after the first game for both of these sides.
Yeah, I'd be hesitant. Even in Australia, they won't be proud of this performance, particularly starting their World Cup, coming in as a home team as well. But I think it's important to try and keep that continuity.
Sodhi comes in. Maxwell's decided the switch hit in his bowl. Sodhi read it beautifully, got it through Maxwell. And Australia's last recognised batsman is gone. Maxwell out for 28, bowled by Sodhi. Australia 7 for 89 in the 14th over.
And he's adjusted well, Sodhi, after being turned around and hit left-handed by Maxwell into the stance. He started bowling flatter at that leg stump, and that time just skidding through and beating Maxwell. And look, I think with Glenn Maxwell departing, 17 and over, Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc at the crease, it's all over Red Rover, unfortunately for Australia, and I think they've been outclassed by New Zealand in all facets of the game tonight, batting, bowling and fielding. They've come here ready to play, and I spoke about them being underdogs in this tournament, really probably going unnoticed with a lot of the talk being around Australia.
जी 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 नहीं ज्यादा पौना क्यों देखना बोतल जी नहीं मैं क्यों करना है ये तो नहीं पता ना पूछया कदी ते ना कदी ख्याल आया है क्यों कोई होई गल कोई अच्छा किने दा अच्छा चलो ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਫੋਨ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਨਾ ਫੋਨ ਦਾ ਨੰਬਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ
England and India, and no one really remembers New Zealand, but the last two World Cups, One Day World Cup, T20 World Cup, they've been there in the final.
They are the perennial underdogs, aren't they, from playing in the final of the Test Championships to featuring in 50 over World Cup finals. When you look at the calibre of their team, it's easy to sort of skip over a few of the names, but then you see the catching of Phillips, the bowling of Boult and Southee. Dev Conway comes in all of a sudden alongside Finn Allen and starts to look like a pretty good 11.
Very good, particularly the way they played tonight on this wicket, and it sets a great blueprint for the rest of their tournament.
It's just can they execute? Sodhi comes in, bowls to the new batter in Josh Hazlewood, who drives down to long on for a single. Southee does the fielding. Australia 7 for 90 in the 14th over with Mitchell Starc, I should say, who was off the mark playing down to long off. Zampa and Hazlewood still to come for the Australians. Sodhi 5 or 6 steps in, and he bowls his next delivery, and Cummins is able to drive it down to long off. Southee does the fielding. 7 for 91 with one ball to come in the 14th over.
And I think he's got a license to go shopping. It's a spinner's term we use, particularly leg spinners often like to do it. Last few balls of their spell, they go shopping for a wicket. Toss it up, Ish. Big wrong un. See if he has a slog at it and get yourself 2 for.
1 for 29 for Ish Sodhi. Comes in and bowls to Starc wide outside the off stump. And he was looking to cut late but missed, and Conway takes it behind the stumps. And the end of the over. After 14 overs, Australia 7 for 91. Pat Cummins on 7, Mitchell Starc on 1. Grandstand cricket on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and via, of course, the ABC Listen app. And a big warm welcome to our listeners through the BBC, of course, as well. Coming up, England and Afghanistan. You won't miss a minute of the action. We'll take you to Perth at the completion of this match and join Jonathan Agnew, Clint Weldon, Ravi Bopara and Nikki Shaw. Stuart Clark comes in to join you once more on Grandstand Cricket. Clarkie, welcome. What can Australia try and salvage from the last 6 overs here.
Well, can they salvage anything? They've been completely outplayed, bat and ball, from basically ball one of the day. So go out the best you can, go out swinging, I would have said. Play some shots. We know these two at the crease won't die wondering. But certainly, just looking a little bit ahead, they've got to play some better cricket, Australia. They've just completely outplayed by New Zealand in their opening match.
Pressure and expectation of being defending champions in a home World Cup. Trent Boult comes back into the attack, wide outside the off stump. There's a big swing from Pat Cummins to start the 15th over. Third over for Trent Boult. Happy to get an opportunity to bowl at the bowlers, no doubt.
Just looking at the upcoming games for New Zealand, they take on Afghanistan and Melbourne. You imagine they'd win that one. Sri Lanka, England will be a tough game, and Ireland, they should win as well. So you'd imagine New Zealand.
Boult comes in to Cummins, who's hitting hard. Just lands short of the fielder at deep mid-wicket. Cummins is able to get through for a single. He moves to 8. Australia 7 for 92 in the 15th over.
Yeah, you'd imagine that they're pretty much, in the box seat now to go through. Australia have got some big games. Certainly the game against England's going to be a massive game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's down in Adelaide. But you would have thought that, looking at the teams in that pool, well, New Zealand probably through, and England and Australia the 3 favourites.
Trent Boult over the wicket, bowls to Starc. He pushes it out to extra cover and quickly through for a single. Starc moves to 2, 7 for 93 in the 15th over. 3 don't go into 2, do they? So
No.
New Zealand, England, Australia. If England open up with a win against Afghanistan, it puts Australia on the back foot right from the outset.
See, if we were watching the Soccer World Cup, that'd be the group of death.
It would be, wouldn't it?
But it's not. So it's just the group with Australia, England, and New Zealand in it. The Australians got some work to do there. They just haven't, the execution of their skills.
Boult wide outside the off stump and just drifting away from Pat Cummins. A wide is called.
The execution of their skills just hasn't been at the same level of the New Zealanders, even bowling-wise. Forget about the score, but I'm watching New Zealand bowl, and their slower balls have just been, better executed. Their length of their slower balls has been better. Their width and their line of their slower balls have been better. Their variations have been better than Australia. Australians can do it.
7 for 94. Boult in, a full delivery. Cummins has struck on the pads, but a fair way down the pitch. And it balloons out onto the offside. A single to the Australian score. 7 for 94 in the 15th over. Cummins on 8, Starc on 2. There will be the question about the scheduling. Of course, Australia playing those games against India, in the games in North Queensland against England, jumping against the West Indies on the Gold Coast. Boult comes in, short delivery to Mitchell Starc, and he's able to just pull it down forward of square leg for a single. Starc to 3.
Yeah, there will be talk about it, but, conversely, that they've had the opportunity to play this form of the game for a period now. So, we wax lyrical, they go from one days to test. Well, they've actually had a pretty decent... What I think they've got wrong, and the selectors have got wrong, the chopping and changing of the team.
Yeah.
Like, we had Cameron Gooding playing. He wasn't even in the squad. I just don't get that.
Boult comes in to Pat Cummins, a full delivery, hits it hard down the ground, down to long off in the air momentarily, but a single to close out the over. Australia 7 for 97 after 15 overs with Pat Cummins on 9, Mitchell Starc's on 3. Might let you continue that conversation. Stuart Clark's with you, and in a moment, Andrew Moore about to join him.
The T20 Cricket World Cup.
On your radio.
On the ABC Listen app.
Sport Digital.
And BBC 5 Sports Extra.
Gravity's holding me back. I want you to hold that.
Australia 7 for 97, 5 overs left, chasing 201. But the story out of this is the brilliant performance from New Zealand on both sides of the ball. And it looks like there's a bit more harm to come. Is that Lockie Ferguson to come on? Back from the Paddington end of the ground, and Lockie Ferguson bowling it up to 150 k an hour. So this could be a little bit unpleasant for Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins. Stewie?
Yeah, it could be. We saw he did bowl some good variations though. Good slow balls, some really big change up, well disguised. But his stock ball's quick.
So, He bowls to Cummins, who slashes this over the head of Williamson at extra cover. That might go for 4. Well, it didn't look like he had timed it at all. But in the end, the fact is it raced away for a boundary. So Pat Cummins moves to 13. And Australia 6 for 101 at the start of the 16th over, needing 201 to win.
It was like a forehand, like a cross-court forehand from the backhand corner. Top spin on it. As it bounced, it kicked away from Kane Williamson.
So Cummins will appreciate that. Ferguson might grit his teeth a little bit more. There's a long off, deep point, deep third man, deep square leg, long on there, the 5 out. Only 100 to win for Australia. Ferguson bowls. Cummins takes him long over mid-wicket into the members' pavilion for a massive 6. At 144 k an hour, Cummins got right underneath it, and he moves to 19. Australia 7 for 107. 10 runs off 2 balls to start the over.
Big pat right in the wheelhouse. Bang. See you later. Right into the members' stand. People clamouring around trying to take a catch in the outer. Paddy Cummins.
That was a short-arm jab.
Cop that, Lockie Ferguson. I don't care how quick you're bowling. I'm going to dispatch you.
It was a test match. He might care next delivery. As Ferguson comes in, bowls to Cummins, and Cummins gets a Yorker. Followed him. And he does well to clamp down on it, Cummins, and plays it back to the bowler. Nice fight back there from Ferguson at 146 clicks. 7 for 107 Australia. What was your retort? I appreciate you weren't always at 150 k an hour, Stewie, or ever. But if you got tongs a couple in a row, are you thinking, let's go for some short stuff? Or
Oh, absolutely. No one wants to get hit out there.
Now it's Ferguson. Bowling to Cummins again, and he's on the drive, and he hits it nicely along the ground to Southee at long off. They'll get a single. Cummins moves to 20 from 15 deliveries. Australia 7 for 108 in the 16th over, needing 201 to win.
When people talk 150s, my name never came into the conversation. Ever. Good line and length, yeah, talk about him. 150, not today, champion.
What was your peak? Mid-130s?
No, a couple of games I got it up there. Might have had a 4 in front, 1-4-0.
You sat generally in the one.
Yeah, when I was younger I did. As I got older, it was dribble at about 125.
It's Ferguson around the wicket to Starc. Swing and a miss outside the off stump. It goes through down low to Devon, Conway, the keeper. And the score remains at 7 for 108. But you could prove you didn't always need to be the quickest.
No.
You had bounce, you were tall.
That's what I say. I say that to people all the time. You don't have to bowl the right ball, do a little bit with the ball.
Like a metronome out there.
The game's changed so much, though, now that guys, and that's what I mean, games that don't move forward or stand still are games that don't go anywhere.
Here's Ferguson bowling around the wicket again to Starc, and Starc drives this powerfully square on the offside, but it's well fielded by Glenn Phillips, who's been a star in the outfield.
He's lightning quick.
Keeps it down to a run. Starc is 4, 7 for 109 at the end of the 16th over, so there were 12 runs off that Lachlan Ferguson over. 7 for 109, the target 201, Cummins 20. Starc is 4 and Ferguson 3 overs, 1 for 20.
He's been very good in the field, Phillips. Moves quickly side to side. Good strong arm. Saw an amazing catch out there earlier on. Big Superman dive. Very impressed with him. I was also impressed with his batting too. I think he came out, he didn't get much of an opportunity, but looked like he's a real goer.
Yeah, 12 of 10. But you're right, he came in with the right attitude, and his strike rate through a pretty young career is in the mid-140s. So now, 4 overs away, you would think, from a New Zealand victory here at the SCG before an official crowd of 34,756, which is well short of a sellout. Here's Trent Boult, and he's bowled Mitchell Starc. He went for the big hit over mid-wicket, missed it, and almost a Yorker length from Trent Boult, and he gets the wicket. And that's his first of the evening. So Starc bowled by Boult for 7. Australia 8 for 109 in the 17th over.
Full, straight, plenty of pace, a little bit of tail back into the left-hander from Trent Boult. Mitchell Starc's stumps go everywhere as he missed that one. Middle and leg stump taking a real pounding. Trent Boult again doing the job.
He's still very good, Boult, isn't he?
Very, very good.
He's now no longer part of their contracted list of players because he doesn't want to commit to full-time cricket, but he's still
full-time in New Zealand.
And New Zealand, yes. But he's still an elite bowler. There's no doubt about it.
Much about it. He's he's really in T20 cricket around the world. You see him in various tournaments around them, and he is just lethal with the new ball. Good variations at the end of the innings. We're trying to do the same here.
Adam Zampa coming in your old spot, Stewie, number 10. Diminutive figure out there at the striker's end. Adam Zampa, the 30-year-old from Shell Harbour on the south coast of New South Wales. Waits for Boult, and he walks right across his stumps on the offside. Attempted almost a ramp down to fine leg, missed it altogether, and threw it goes to Devon Conway. Not a great shot there by Zampa.
Pat Cummins is walking down the wicket. What do you reckon he's saying? What are you doing?
He's a slightly different personality, Adam Zampa, anyway.
He is. He's a little bit different.
I think Pat might be taking that into account, but still saying, dude,
just run it in a third man or something.
Here's Boult bowling to Zampa now. Zampa, Boult! Gave himself a bit of room, missed it. And Trent Boult, too smart. Zampa bowled for a not overly impressive second ball duck. And Australia is careering towards a massive defeat to the hands of New Zealand. At 9 for 109. Zampa gone for a duck, and Trent Boult now has a twofer.
He does. He's just hitting the ball. It's the old knuckleball. Look at that. No spin, no nothing on the ball. Zampa early. Stumps everywhere. Trent Boult bringing out all the party tricks now. Knuckleballs and slower balls and quicker balls and you name it.
He could have nearly rolled that down the pitch and bowled Zampa then. But I love watching him bowl, Trent Boult. Always have. 9 for 109. Zampa out. Second ball duck, and watching those two deliveries, Josh Hazlewood must be thinking, who have I upset? Hazlewood coming in at number 11. Big tall lefty. And earlier today, he was the only multiple wicket taker for Australia. 2 for 41, getting rid of Finn Allen and Glenn Phillips.
I reckon I only batted once in my 2020 career.
Really?
I would have played 40 games, something like that, for New South Wales. But before the Big Bash, I only batted once. I faced one ball. And French cut it for 4. That was it.
Your strike rate is extraordinary.
400.
Extraordinary.
Don't think I even saw the ball. I think it just hit my bat and went down there.
He scored. He's only had 6 innings in his career. And what are we looking at for? It's his 38th T20 international, 6 innings.
Yeah.
21 runs at 10.5.
The old stumps are flashing for some reason. The old zing bails are zinging.
Well, I reckon they've been zampered.
Damaged, you reckon?
But Trent Boult, he's picked up 2 wickets in this over, both of them bowled. Mitchell Starc for 4 and Adam Zampa for a duck. Grandstand cricket. Steve from the Gold Coast, nice to hear from you on the SMS.
We're calling for a new bail.
Not at 9 down. One change needed urgently, says Mike. Finch puts the other batters under the pump every game.
Yeah, Mike, you know what? I thought he looked all right for the 10 or 12 he got today, but I'd be finding a spot for Smith in the team somewhere. I really would. I don't know at whose expense. I don't think Aaron Finch is going to be the man they're going to drop.
No.
But I'd be finding a spot for Stephen Smith.
Well, they've got 2 big games to come against England and Sri Lanka at their next 2. And, as the boys were discussing before, this is coming down to 2 of England, New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a massive game at the MCG. England has to open its account this evening. And if you're in WA, you'll hear that on local radio with Jonathan Agnew and the team. I can't wait to listen to Agar's voice again on the way home.
I can't wait till I see him here and we can talk like last year.
Yep, for sure. Here's the delivery from Boult, bowling to Hazlewood, who's off the mark straight away with an impeccable flick off his hip for a single down to deep backward square and Mitchell Santner. So Hazlewood 1, Cummins 20, 9 for 110 in the 17th over. Only need to go at 27.3 for over for year. You laugh.
I do.
You chortle.
I do.
Well, Cummins will look up and see. Yes.
He can do it because he's poleaxed one into the members.
He can't do 27.5 and over on his own. Boult bowls to him, short outside the off stump, tried the late cut, missed. Through it goes to Conway, dot ball. Trent Boult 2 for 23 in his final over. Getting the job done. Looking at the Australian dressing room, Steve Smith, who's always got a cricket ball in his hand. He's just flicking a few leggies over to himself.
What about Cameron Green? We find a spot for him?
Or do we...
Not a bad player.
Do the Australians... Is it panic if they make 2 or 3 changes? Or is it just needed? Here's Boult into Cummins, who's pushing down towards long off along the ground. He'll keep the strike, and I think that was his intent. So he gets one. Terrific over by Trent Boult. He has 4 overs, 2 for 24 in Australia, 9 for 111, 2 wickets and 2 runs in that over. Cummins is 21. Hazlewood is 1. The run rate required up to 30 with 90 to win off 18 deliveries. And I think even with Stewie Clark at his cow corner best, that would be very, very remote opportunity.
One of the options the Australians could do is they could leave a quick out and play a Green or Smith. Because you can remember Stoinis bowls, Maxwell bowls, they don't really bowl him a lot.
He bowled it all today.
Yeah, Zampa bowls, can sort of get through it that way potentially.
And all 3 pace bowlers got carted around.
They got spanked. So there are options for how they want to set their team up, the Australians. I know they've liked going with their 3 quicks.
So Tim Southee on to bowl to Cummins, who lost this. 84 kilometres in the air. Conway under it. Conway takes the catch and New Zealand wins. What a performance. They have thrashed Australia by 89 runs at the SCG. Their first win in this country in 11 years. Cummins caught Conway, bowled Southee for 21. And they're all out for 111. That is a mighty effort by New Zealand, an 89-run victory.
Yeah, it's an absolute spanking of the highest order from the New Zealanders to the Australians. They've been good from ball 1, the New Zealanders.